Just gotta wait for them to.
No hay nadie que necesite traducción. So for now, since no one asked, sí, voy a tratar de conectar esto correctamente para poder dar el servicio. Enséñame cómo utilizar.
Okay, so we'll just, yeah, got this one. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Buenas noches. How's everybody doing today? Good? Oh, come on now. How's everybody doing today? Bless you. That's good to hear. Hey, listen, before we begin our board meetings, we try to do some engagement with the community. Sometimes it's student presentations, student performance. Tonight, it's student recognition. Tonight, a few years ago, we began this process of clarifying how we recognize students, staff, and entire communities. So we have two sets of awards. One is called the Yes We Can Award, and that award recognizes whole schools that have some kind of improvement. You know, oftentimes we recognize improvement by your GPA, people get A's and B pluses, but sometimes recognition should be just when you make progress. So the Yes We Can Award is simply about that, recognizing sometimes excellence and sometimes just simple progress. The other award, which we'll probably give out another month or so, is the I Believe Award. And rather than recognizing whole schools and whole communities, the I Believe Award is kind of unique. Because what we do is we say, all right, there's a student who is doing better. And so that student gets a plaque or an award for doing better. But it doesn't just stop there. That student is identified by the superintendent's team, and that student gets an award. But before that student comes here to get his or her award, check this out. We ask the student, who helped you get to where you are, to make that progress, to get that A, to get that B, to be that good student. And that student identifies an adult in the building. Now, it could be a cafeteria lady, it could be a principal, it could be a teacher, it could be a preacher, it could be anybody, a volunteer, a tutor. And there's where the name I Believe comes from. I believe in myself as a student, and there's an adult that believed in me. Because none of this happens, we talk about graduation rates and finances, but in the end, it's all about relationships. In the end, that's what it's about. Communicating with people, working with people. I believe in a student, and the student believed in me, so the student is successful. That's for next month. But today, we're here to recognize school number 15 for the Yes We Can Award. And let me give you a little background. The Rochester Board of Education is here to recognize number 15, which at one point was on Monroe and Averill, I think, and now it's in the Cobb's Hill area, right? And Jay has been the principal of that school for a number of years. I think somebody told me 2009. But no matter where Jay and his parents are, and he's had many parents come through that school, their approach is the same. A few years ago, I went to their, I don't know what they call, Jay, their morning briefings. But briefings is the wrong word. Briefings makes it sound like some kind of lawyer thing. No, these are like celebrations, and people get excited and engaged. If you haven't had a chance, I see some of the parents and supporters smiling out there who, by the way, were very helpful in transforming the school from one location to the next. So let me do this. None of this is in the script. Let's give our families of number 15 a round of applause. Because when we say yes, we can, we're talking about you. We've heard you say that to us. But the thing that we're here to talk about, number 15 today, is they really have this notion of restorative practice. They understand it's important to have healing. And hey, you know, you talk about, I'm not the preacher in this organization, but it is a child that will lead us, right? We talk about restorative practice. Us adults need to learn that, right? We have to do healing. Tell me about it, Jay, right? And they have become exceptional. That community has become exceptional in those practices. And you know, sometimes we judge success by the numbers. I want y'all to check this out. In the 2018-2019 school year, school number 15 reported a 93% average daily attendance rate. Come on now. A 93% annual attendance rate, daily attendance rate. Now, this is even more impressive. Y'all, they might deserve a standing ovation for this. A 0 suspension rate. A 0, did you hear me? A 0 suspension rate. That doesn't happen by accident. That's the We and the Yes We Can award. That's people coming together and figuring out how do we heal, because every community, adults and children, they have tensions. The question is, how do you resolve them once you have them? We could really, I'm keeping it real. We got some students who are from Edison who are checking us out here. I want y'all to know this, my colleagues. These students are from Edison, they're checking us out. How does government operate? And one very insightful student, raise your hand, he asked me, you right there, he said, what do y'all do when you make a mistake? Huh? I'm not the preacher. What do we do when we make a mistake? That's what he asked me. Well, I hope we show them a little something, something today, because we are going to make mistakes, and we have made mistakes. The question is a great one. How do we resolve them? And you know that biblical phrase, we can learn from children. They set a good example. The children and families at number 15 tell us how to do that. So without further conversation with this very long-winded lawyer, I want to have the entire community of number 15 come on up here and accept this award. And as you come up, I want to give them a great round of applause. It says the Yes We Can Award. It's a certificate of recognition presented to the Children's School of Rochester. School number, come on up here. Come on now. Y'all can do better than that. They've done some amazing things. We want to thank you for the Yes We Can by the Board of Education and Superintendent of Schools, Terry Dade, who has signed it in recognition of continuous improvement. That's right. They keep on applauding. That's right. Carlos is giving it up, boy. Carlos didn't stop applauding. That's how you keep it going. All right. It says, in recognition of continuous improvement. Carlos, you ain't gonna stop, are you? Look, his hands getting tired, they're getting hurt, they all red. He said, in recognition of continuous improvement for the 2018-2019 school year, and I did mention this because there's so much you all have done, Jay, and the families there, in New York State ELA and math and science scores with an average daily attendance rate of 93%. Superintendent Day, that's like A+ in this district, 92, that's what we're striving for. I'm looking at y'all. Yes, we can. You did it. Yes, you did. And a 0 rate of Terry, did you hear that? A 0 rate of suspension. Again, without further ado, thank you. You have proven, Brock said it, but y'all are doing it best. Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Come on, say a few words.
Thank you, President White. And thank you, Board. Thank you so much, Commissioners. Thank you, Superintendent. And thank you, Chief Green, for all of your support. We love Rochester. We believe in our district. We're here to make a difference and change the narrative. That's what we do. We have a focus on teaching and learning. And on behalf of our school family, I proudly accept this. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to stay here by these little kids. Are they online? Will we be able to see them or no? Because I think. Okay. Well, I tell you what, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure we won't get much into the agenda without them. So, and if it gets to the point where we get towards resolutions, we'll adjourn the meeting for a minute or two until they can get online. So, good evening, everybody. We begin with, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. We are very honored and privileged to have the students from Edison Tech. Those are students sitting in the back. P-Tech, well, all right now, but P-Tech and Edison, come on now, dang, students from P-Tech are here, and they've already contributed to the conversation. You are, is it a government, is that what it is? Participating in government, PIG is what my kids called it at Wilson. So they're here to watch government operate, and I just want to tell you real quick, one gentleman, raise your hand again, he asked me a very good question. He said, what do you all do when you make a mistake? I heard somebody make an audible noise out there. I said, the first thing that we do is you have to own up to it. That's the first thing you have to do. And that can be difficult, but then you got to fix it. So hopefully tonight you hear us talk about the beginning of the fixing of the problem. We're not going to solve all our problems tonight. And in fact, you may witness some problems that occurred tonight, right? You're here to observe, but that's what good government does. You identify a problem, and you own up to it, and then you begin to try to fix it. And Superintendent Dade is going to describe at one point in his report a mistake that we made. And with the help of a lot of other people in the community, including a committed chancellor, a board of regents, a comptroller, Department of Education, we and the community are going to try to fix it together. So you'll see some of that tonight. So thank you for coming, and I hope, would you mind, sir, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? No, okay, that's cool. Was somebody there from Edison? Well, actually, P-Tech, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Real ownership of that. Come on up. Let's give this young man a round of applause. If you could take that mic right there so everybody can hear you.
My name is Roberto Ramirez. Hello, my name is Roberto Ramirez. I'll be leading you guys in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Right now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Let's give him a round of applause. What's that? Oh, thank you for coming. We also try to set aside this time of the meeting to, when it's appropriate, and it always seems to be appropriate, is to have a moment of silence for folks who maybe need our support, our prayers, our encouragement. Terry, from the moment he was interviewed, talked about us dealing with each other, our successes and our failures as a family. And you know, one of the things that all of us have been doing, even before he got here, is we frequently will talk about family. I think I mentioned to you all, my cousin died. She was way too young, 45. Died with her grandbaby in her arms. I just got back from Flint, Michigan. But I know this. There's probably 15 people out there that have recently dealt with similar challenges, right? So I know your pain and you know mine. And that's what happens in families. So I would ask, and sometimes we talk about big headline things, people getting shot, people losing lives, national tragedies. I would ask that maybe we turn our attention to the quote-unquote smaller tragedies today that many of us are experiencing in this room and beyond this room. Just give a moment of silence, support for those folks. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda, I see Commissioner LeBron, and welcome. Now, will we be able to be like a split screen or something like that? Yeah, there will be one screen. So this is how it works. In this day of modern technology, I might as well explain this to you all real time. We have rules that say you can have people participate by, the blogosphere or the World Wide Web, but you got to announce first where they're at, and we did that in a press release. You have to be able to see them. So Commissioner LeBron's presence is authorized right now. And Carl, you correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to do it by the book. We have to, in order for the other two members to vote, we literally have to see them on the screen. So we're going to keep on going. And Commissioner LeBron and Commissioner Hallmark and Shepard, if you can hear me, we'll try to avoid taking any votes without you being engaged first digitally. All right, so let's keep going. First item on our agenda is we have to, again, we got to remember we got students here listening. We want to make sure they get the full benefit of their participation in government class. We have to accept notes from our prior meetings. And we have a great staff that keeps notes about what was said, when, and who said it. And so there's a number of meetings. And I'd ask my colleagues just allow me to summarize these dates first, and then you can make a motion. We had meetings on August the 20th, August 22nd, August the 27th, September the 3rd, September the 10th, September the 12th, and another meeting on September the 12th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Powell, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any questions or comments regarding those minutes? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of accepting those minutes as described by me a few moments ago, say aye. 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 Any opposition? Commissioner LeBron, can you hear us? Uh-oh. Commissioner LeBron, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Oh, I see Commissioner Hallmark. Okay, can you hear us? Commissioner LeBron, can you hear us? Commissioner Hallmark, can you hear us? See, because they couldn't participate in government if they can't hear us, so we're still kind of trying to work out the digital. Yeah, Commissioner Hallmark, you can hear us? I thought I saw you.
I can't hear them.
You can't
Liz, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, now I hear you.
Okay, all right. Well, we hear.
I can't hear them either.
Okay.
All right.
Maybe we're supposed to click something down below.
Tom, as the host, had it on mute. I see it's on mute. You're on mute. Oh,
Question
I
number
just-
one. What do we do?
Okay, I just
I can hear them, but
clicked.
it's hard to hear them.
Oh, you can hear them?
Yeah. They can hear us though, very clearly, just say.
Okay, so we should stop talking, huh?
Yeah. They can hear us.
I can't hear them. Okay.
Can you hear us now?
Just
Very low.
You can hear us?
It's very low.
Okay, all right. Testing. Participation in government. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Beatrice, can you hear us? Can you hear that?
I can hear you, but it sounds very low and far away.
Okay. P-Tech, can you hear that? I know y'all could hear that. Could you hear that, Beatrice? Commissioner LeBron, no?
I hear it very low, like very far away. I hear Liz better than I hear you guys.
So it's not your volume on your computer, it's something here then.
I adjusted mine and it worked better, so I can hear you guys just fine now.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. How's it going? Beatrice, can you hear that? Commissioner LeBron, can you hear that?
Let me try to put up my volume. I'm gonna put myself on mute as well while you guys are talking.
Okay.
All right, try again, Van.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Now, Commissioner Shepard, where is she? She's somewhere out? Okay, all right, so we're gonna go with what we got. And,
Yeah, she just called me.
Okay. What'd she say? Don't y'all
I
just
didn't
love this?
answer, but I'm going to. Let me call her back. I'm gonna put me on mute.
Okay, so is she still working on her issues, trying to get through? Okay, all right, so we'll keep going. We had a vote on the minutes. Those minutes have been accepted. Did we have a vote? Well, Liz and Commissioner LeBron, did you hear me describe the minutes that were being entered into our records? No?
No, because I came on after that.
All right. Well, we had a quorum here, but we'll do it to make sure that everybody had his opportunity to vote. I had a motion from Commissioner Powell, seconded by Commissioner Davis, and that motion was to approve minutes that were generated by our staff on August the 20th, for August the 20th, August 22nd, August 27th, September the 3rd, September the 10th, September 12th, and another meeting on September the 12th. All those in favor of approval of those minutes as moved by Commissioner Powell and seconded by Commissioner Davis, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I heard an aye from Commissioner Hallmark. Did you give me an aye, Commissioner LeBron?
I don't want to give an aye because honestly, I did not get a chance
Okay.
to like see the minutes
That's
from
fine.
board docs. So I'm going to abstain or vote no.
Okay, that's fine. No, it's fine. All right. So the minutes have been approved. Next item on our agenda is we have young people from P-TECH. We have people who sign up to speak about various topics that are either on the agenda or maybe not on the agenda, and they have the right to speak. We have rules, though, about people when they speak before the board. Because our time is limited, and quite often we have so many items on the agenda. This is our agenda. This is all the stuff we got to cover tonight. Lots of different decisions have to be made tonight. So we have to limit folks in terms of what they can, not what they can say, but how long they can say it. Generally speaking, the rule is that they have 3 minutes to speak. And what you'll see is our clerk, who's this young lady over here, she has this little egg timer, I guess is what it is. And she'll set it for 3 minutes, and the people have to stop speaking within 3 minutes. Now, you'll see, nobody's perfect. Most people can't stop at 3 minutes. We give them an opportunity to conclude their remarks. But we have a whole set of rules about conduct during the course of this meeting. People have to do their best to speak within 3 minutes. And if they fail to do that, as I've read in other meetings, and you can see right in front of us here, there's some rules. I don't know where it is, but there's a whole list of rules right in front of us. There's a blown up copy. And so we have to enforce those rules on occasion. We don't like to, but sometimes we have to. We hope, though, particularly since we have students from participation in government, we hope that all adults set the right example for our students. And I always say that at our meetings. It's not directed towards a particular person or people. We got to make sure that we're able to get to all this agenda, and if there are other people who want to speak, we want to make sure we show our young people the courtesy and respect that we understand that there are other people behind us who are going to speak. Our first speaker tonight is Mr. Howard Eagle.
Good evening. My statement is on behalf of the Take It Down Planning Committee, Faith Community Alliance Movement for Anti-Racist Ministry and Action Coalition. We were happy to learn that there are students here from Edison. I want to congratulate the social studies teacher, whoever you are. This is real hands-on, important kind of learning. Hope that the students will take good notes. You should have lots to discuss when you get back to your class. I wish I could be a part of that discussion. When I signed up to speak to resolution number 2019-2284. But I also want to speak to, and again, I'm speaking for our coalition, to 285, 286, 287, 289, all of which have to do with additional pay, so-called additional pay. Hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're poised to approve here tonight, which you've been doing for decades, for people who, and I have to say this honestly, people who in many cases are, for all practical intents and purposes, poverty pimps. They're not adding anything to the value of education for our children. And if you examine those resolutions that I just rattled off in detail, you'll see that that's true. You'll see that it's true. Now you're doing this in the face of a $50 million budget gap after you have lied to the public that your budget is balanced. And I know, I saw the media reports that the superintendent said it's 30 million instead of 50 and so forth. I have to tell you honestly, we don't believe a thing you say in terms of numbers. Until we see the controllers, what we hope would be a forensic audit of this district in the final report, we don't believe anything you say. The media is reporting that there's mistrust in the community. That's an understatement, perhaps the understatement of the century. To add injury to insult, we got one commissioner saying publicly, I don't know anything about this. I'm finding out about it the same way you found out about it, through the media. I know nothing. Nobody's reported anything to me. And meanwhile, we have Van White, Mr. Van White, running around to the media, telling the media, talking, doing what he does best, that he's expressing himself for himself and his colleagues. Meanwhile, like a czar or something, like he doesn't have to check with anybody before he makes statements. We understand that the board president makes statements for the board, but he needs to be checking with the other commissioners, you would think. And we imagine that this commissioner is not the only one who hasn't received any reports. We imagine that the rest of them are tight-lipped because they're trying to engage the community in a fantasy that the superintendent keeps talking about, this idea of one big family. They sure are one big dysfunctional family. What we want to say to you, quite honestly, Commissioner White, Commissioner Powell, Commissioner Elliott, Commissioner White, 12 years, Commissioner Powell, 22 years, Commissioner Elliott, 14 years. We really, and this is with all due respect, we want to ask you to consider following Liz Hallmark right out of the door. Give somebody else an opportunity to help lead this district. You're not up to the task. And this is not self-promotion. I'm not talking, you don't have to be mean. Just give somebody a chance to help lead this district. And we know, things have gotten worse all the years that you've been on the board. And we know the rhetoric about graduation rate is rising 60%, but we believe what you told us, Superintendent, that you believe.
Mr. Eagle?
I'm done.
All right.
The superintendent says he has a question. How can the graduation rate be hovering around 60%, but our competency rates are in the single digits? Reading, writing, those tests and so forth, right?
Mr. Eagle?
Third through eighth grade tests. In the single digits. I'm done, Mr. White. I'm done. The literacy rates, that's what I was trying to say. The literacy rates are in the single digits.
Mr. Eagle?
And have been for decades.
Thank you. The next speaker on our list is Donna Hodgkin. Donna Hodgkins. Hope I'm not mispronouncing that. And our final speaker for today is Amy Malloy.
Hi there, good evening.
Good evening.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amy Malloy. I'm one of your 2 new school board nominees. I'm also a full-time social studies teacher in a neighboring district. I have 4 children currently in RCSD, and I am thrilled at the education that they are getting. The enthusiasm and joy they bring home on a daily basis is indicative of the many caring adults with whom they have contact each day. Whether classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, our many transportation professionals, administrators, administrative office staff, their building SROs and security personnel, as well as the custodial and cafeteria staff workers. All of these folks have created a safe and welcoming, loving, and enthusiastic start to their school year. In the over 11 years of my children being enrolled in RCSD, I can honestly say that I've never seen the type of eagerness by all begin a school year. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to you, Superintendent Dade, for the example of professionalism and leadership. You have provided this professionalism in the face of some overwhelmingly adverse circumstances. You and your executive cabinet have provided district employees with optimism and a clear focus to help stabilize the district. Your guidance has been measured, thoughtful, and reflective. That's the kind of environment students and families need. I implore my fellow board members to accept our superintendent's leadership and his desire to change the narrative in our district. We are one family. We are RCSD strong. And as a future board member, I am wholly committed to working with my board peers in a collaborative and professional manner, even when we disagree philosophically with one another. We need to set a good example for our students and employees. Now is the time to find common ground and come to consensus on the many issues facing our kids and families. We owe it to them to create the best teaching and learning environment, one in which creativity and academic rigor are embraced. Every action on our part must move towards this goal. To my fellow board members, Superintendent Dade, and the entire executive cabinet and RCSD community, I am looking forward to serving our community together. We are a team, we bring our unique experiences and perspectives to the table, and despite our many opinions and views, we all are RCSD. We are one family. Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda, we have finished our speakers list. Next item on the agenda is our Student Leadership Congress. I want to welcome Ms. Spencer. Let's give her a round of applause. This is her first meeting. Ms. Spencer, the floor is yours.
My name, that's fine. My name is Tatiana Spencer. I'm a junior at Word of Inquiry High School and the new student representative for the Rochester City School District's Board of Education for this school year. I've been a member of the Student Leadership Congress for a year. I'm also part of my school's student council. My future goal is to attend Boston University, where I would like to get my doctorate in psychology. Our first meeting this year took place on Wednesday, September 25th, 2019, from 3:30 to 5 p.m. On the agenda for our meeting, we discussed school of choice selection books. With the communications department, we discussed ways to make the school selection books more appealing for both the students and their parents. We talked about having the schools list the exact sports and AP classes that they have at each school. Some ideas that we discussed during the meeting is for students to participate in National Global Youth Service Day. It is a day where kids from all over the district come together to clean up Rochester. As a part of this activity, we would clean once every 2 or 3 months. This would be a great way to participate in the community and help clean Earth. Another idea was that each school has an opportunity to sit down with the superintendent so that the students know who the leader of our school district is. This would give students the opportunity to have an active voice in their district. And also on the agenda is recruiting new members. We came up with the idea to promote Student Leadership Congress through school morning announcements, posters, flyers, social media such as Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook, also using our official website. We also had the idea to set up a booth at an event where we can advertise Student Leadership Congress. At the meeting, we also briefly covered our educational trip to Washington, D.C., where we will meet students across the country and have debates and workshops about our democracy and learn about our different point of views. New York State Caucus has invited us to do a panel to discuss the importance of student voices. This will be taking place on October 25th, 2019 at the Convention Center from 9:15 to 11:30. We have 6 to 8 students from our district participating.
Excellent job. Again, let's give her a round of applause. Mr. Powell?
If I could just tack on to that and invite those students from the PTech to join SLC if you're so moved. And the conference that Tati was referring to is the New York State School Boards Association is having their convention here in Rochester, at the end of October, and the Black Caucus is having a 2-hour student panel that would basically invite school board members from across the state to hear the voice of students. So this would be an opportunity for you to practice your public speaking skills in front of board members who are eager to hear from student populations.
Thank you. Just for you folks participating in government, what we do, our rules require that when we have a student representative, that they receive a board mentor. We'll talk about that offline. So Ms. Spencer, our rules require, and if you choose to accept it, that you get a board member who can sort of be there to answer your questions. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, all right? So again, let's thank Ms. Spencer for her presentation. Well done for the first class. All right. We have a couple of larger groups that we asked to participate in providing the district guidance and support. There are two such groups. There are many groups in this district that help us out, but two groups that we put on the agenda, the Parent Advisory Council and the Bilingual Education Council. I understand that the Parent Advisory Council, which you guys can probably figure out is a group of parents throughout the district. I've been told that they do not have a report today. I do want to tell my colleagues that I've been informed that the superintendent's team are still working on that. I think there's a meeting with them next week. So my colleagues will get an update on what the status is with that group. But I know Ms. Gonzalez is here for the Bilingual Education Council. I know I saw her. Ms. Gonzalez? Oh, there she is. As Ms. Gonzalez makes her way up here, Commissioner Shepard has joined us. Commissioner Shepard, can you hear us? Can you try to say a few words so we can make sure we can hear you? Nope, that's not working. Liz, we're still good? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to turn my mute off.
Okay, you can hear us?
Yeah. Do I look all right? I'm joking.
All right, we're good. Ms. Gonzalez?
Hi.
Hello.
Before I start, I am very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
My heart is with your family, and we're going to be praying for them.
Thank you.
Good evening. Buenas noches. I am Myrna Gonzalez, the president of the Bilingual Educational Council, BEC. Thank you for this opportunity to share some of the council activities. We are bilingual parents, community-based organizations, and educators, representing and advocating for the educational rights to a quality bilingual education for all students in the district. We would like the district leaders and the board to recognize and appreciate that the parent groups are volunteers. We spend a lot of time at district meetings and meeting with parents. Just within a month, it could easily reach 10 meetings. We would like the district to consider compensating parents leaders from the BEC PAC, CPAC, and the new Multilingual Advisory Council with gas cards and funds for childcare. This may encourage other parents to get involved if they are supported in this way. Thanks to the Rochester City School District for the new building for School 22. You know, I've been fighting for that for the longest because I don't think that elementary school needs to be in a high school. Yeah, little kids see things that they never need to see at that age. Thank you. The new actually, I've been in the new building and it's wonderful. It's very pretty, and the kids are happy. I've been there 3 times already. During July, BEC participated in the selection of the new BLL director and other personnel that was necessary. We would like to encourage the district to keep trying to recruit more bilingual personnel to provide bilingual students that support that needs for academic success. We are aware of several special education students whose resources were cut, even though they still need the services. We are still interested in helping advocate in Albany and reach out to whoever is necessary to help bring more resources for all children. The Bilingual Educational Council is proud of the work conducted by Alexis Reyes, the TOA Latino Studies Support Coach, who is working with Dr. Willis, Director of African American Studies, in the inclusion of the role of the Caribbean islands in the U.S. history and other projects. Our kids deserve to know where they come from and the similarities, difference of all idiosyncrasies. Thank you, the Office of Parent Engagement and the Bilingual Office for all their help and support. BEC is proud to say that they are part of the Latino Parent Conference planning team that is going to be held Saturday, October 26, 2019 at 11 a.m. at the David Kent Center located at 700 during this celebration, North Street, I'm looking forward having the BOA and the superintendent during this celebration. We encourage parents to register and participate. This event is open to all the Rochester City School District parents, not only to the Latino community. BEC update their bylaws. We want to know if they was approved. I would like to know the status, and BEC works closely with Rochester City School District's employees who are going to provide support and be part of the BEC during the 2019-2020 school year. They are Mr. Abel Perez from the ELL Director, Mrs. Anali Cruz, Bilingual Director, and Mrs. Maria Encarnacion from OPE, Community Liaison Specialist Bilingual. Today I would like to thank the Rochester City School District who has honored their promise with the Latino community. The Bilingual Academy is up and running in their permanent house, 1 Egerton Park, Jefferson Campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Now you all are going to have to applaud again. I'm going to ask you to applaud again. Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez? No worries. You and I sometimes have agreed and sometimes we haven't. But I wanted to say, and we've talked when we haven't agreed, but I wanted to say, we've not always had folks that have been steady and kept their commitment to providing these reports. And I wanted to say on behalf of the board, we appreciate that we can consistently rely on you to offer up the concerns of the bilingual community, and we appreciate that. I wanted you to know that. Thank you very much. Any other question or comments from board members? Next item on the agenda is various reports of committees. I don't have a president's report other than to say I hope you all were paying attention earlier today to Terry's detailed announcement. He'll be talking about that very generally in his superintendent's report. But I then would next turn to the chair of Policy, Development and Review Committee. That would be Commissioner Shepard.
Okay. So I'm not going to read the policy report tonight, just in the interest of time. But we do have some things to go over. Do I need to do anything with the policy report, or can you guys read that on your own?
I think we can read it. If there's a written report, we can read it.
Okay. Yep. So we're submitting it in writing this month. But I do have 2 updates for you all. The health and safety policy, I did table that today because I just needed to make sure that the amendment that was made to it has been vetted and that it's something that we all agree on. So you can expect that to come back next month. So I did table the health and safety policy. And then the board bylaws policy, we had some recent updates. And so I know we adopted it before, but then at the policy meeting, we talked about changes to the order of business for the business meetings. And we also talked about changes for board attendance at meetings and for professional development. So those were the two most recent changes from the last time that we adopted the board bylaws. So I wanted to put it forth tonight to be adopted.
And we will give the gavel back to you when we get to unfinished business or new business from a previous meeting. All right, so I'll come back to you on that, and if anybody has any comments about those changes that you've just referenced, we'll do it then.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it about it.
To our students at PTech, what we're doing now is we have committees. The board is broken up into committees. Actually, every board member participates in all these committees. I will tell you, we have a committee called Policy Development and Review Committee. We have a Community and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, a Finance and Resource Committee, and a Human Resources Committee. Commissioner Shepard is chair of our Policy Committee, so she was just providing a summary of some of the work that she's done, because not all the work is done here. And you will hear from the other chairs of these other committees in short order. So having said that, Vice President Elliott, you chair Community and Intergovernmental Relations?
No.
No? Nope, I'm sorry. That's Reverend Davis. Commissioner Davis, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, that's fine. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We held the communications meeting on September 10th. The first part of the meeting was spent looking at the purpose of community and intergovernmental relations. When I read the purpose that was online, it was very focused externally. It was very focused on lobbying and legislative activities, and not so much on the community, not community-centered. So I proposed revisions to the mission and to the purpose of the group, and to make it more community-focused, where the role of the board would be shared with the community, the priorities and initiatives of the board, and the community would understand what exactly the board does. And especially for our P-Tech students here, we're looking at stakeholders such as students, parents. I've met a lot of grandparents, and they want to be listed separate from parents, so parents, grandparents, caregivers, even our own staff, community members, and other governmental entities. All of these are the partners that we can work with, but first they need to understand who we are, what it is that we do, what our priorities and initiatives are. So the purpose of the committee is to be able to develop ways to build those partnerships. And so those are some of the things that we discussed at the meeting. I also looked at the communications plan that we have, again, of how can we communicate with all those stakeholder groups. We're thinking about this fall having a night with the commissioners to open up to the community. And the communications plan, I worked to look at the Distinguished Educator Report recommendations and to add to the communications plan where this committee can be that driver of making sure that the community is well-versed in what the board does, what their role is, and what their priorities and initiatives are.
Where's the money?
That's a good question. Amen, amen. I hope to learn.
Where is the money?
And I hope to learn with you. And we concluded with legislative updates, but I agree with you. I do look forward to learning what happened, and I'm learning with you, the community as well, as to what exactly happened. And that's my report for.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Next, Commissioner to deliver. Now remember now, we want to make sure that our students from P-Tech want to hear what has happened in all of our committees. Our next commissioner that will inform our community and our students is Commissioner Powell for Finance. Commissioner Powell?
Thank you. The Finance Committee met on September 26th as a committee of the whole. We reviewed the August 2019 unaudited financial report. This is the first monthly report for the 2019-20 school year, so it does not address the concerns that have been in the media. We do have those financial... I think we need to set better example for our students present. Mr. President, can we call this meeting to order?
Now listen. Now listen. What's going to end up happening is these students who are come here to learn, they're not going to learn anything because we're going to recess the meeting. That's what the rules are. So I'd prefer that we allow our students to hear all aspects of government. Commissioner Powell, if you all do not allow us to complete, we'll do what we did the last time, which is to go into executive session, which these students don't know, they can't participate in, you can't participate in because they involve confidential matters. And then no one will learn anything. They won't learn anything about the money. They won't learn anything about the finances. They won't learn about policy. If you continue, people won't have an opportunity to have a transparent government. Commissioner Powell, will you continue your report? See, Ma'am, the rules require that I tell you if you keep on interrupting the meeting, you're going to have to be removed. And I don't want that to happen. Please. But that will happen if you keep on interrupting. Please, don't let that happen. Please continue, Commissioner Powell.
As I said, the August 2019 financial reports are before you. They were voted out of committee, and I move that the board approve them at this time.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Hallmark. All those in favor say aye.
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 And no for me.
The ayes have it.
Okay. We also approved reviewed.
I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know if you could hear me, but I was on mute and it's a no for me, so I want to apologize. But I did hear Commissioner Davis also vote no, but I'm voting no with her as well.
All right, thanks.
For the record, thank you.
I believe the ayes still have it.
We also received the final student activity funds report for the 2018-19 school year. You have a copy of that before you. It was voted out of committee, and I move that the board receive this report at this time.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hallmark. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
And no for me.
I heard Commissioner LeBron and Commissioner Davis say no. Are there any other no's?
That's going to be a no for me too on that one.
Then that report does not, let's see, did I miss? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yes, that's 4. That's 4. All right, we got that. Thank you, Commissioner Shepard.
Okay, and the last thing that we discussed at the Finance Committee were the several resolutions before us today, starting with Procurement and Supply, Resolution 294 and 95. Some Facilities Final Payments, Resolutions 296 through 299, 300 through 314 were contract extensions. We had 2 contract executions and agreements, and resolutions 317 through 322 fall in the other category. All were reviewed by the committee and exited the committee with our recommendation. Our next meeting will be October 15th.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Finally, we have Vice President Elliott. Commissioner Hallmark, I understand that there is, before we get to you, Vice President Elliott, there is no report from governance, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, thank you. Vice President Elliott is Chair of the Human Resource Committee. Vice President Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm proud to report that we have reconvened, the board has reconvened the HR committee from I don't know how many years that it was not active, but I'm proud to announce that we have reconvene it. 75% of the budget is personnel costs, so it gives us an opportunity from the board to provide some governance oversight over this portion of the budget. And so with that being said, we met Tuesday, September 24th. We discussed we brainstormed around what the committee, or the board, I should say, because it was committee of the whole, wanted in terms of the description for the committee. We did not have any debate about it. We only listed those items that we were interested in looking at in terms of what a description of that committee will be. We will come back at our next meeting and provide a rough draft of that so that we all are on the same page, or as much as we can be on the same page with respect to what the description of the committee, what the committee charge is going to be. We also received a presentation from the Chief of Human Resources about the goals of the Hci Department in terms of recruitment. How do we recruit more people of color? And that is really a pretty challenging position in that many people of color are not going into the field of teaching. We talked about growing our own, but we also know at the same time that when our young people graduate from high school and go off to college, they don't return to Rochester. So, it's a complex issue, although this board has been pressuring the district about its efforts in recruiting. So we will continue to put that pressure on the district to ensure that we've got people of color who are teaching our children. And we also advanced a number of resolutions to the full board, the resolutions 2019-2260 through 289 for recommendation. The next Human Resources Committee meeting is scheduled for November 26th at 6 o'clock, 6:30? What time is it? The next meeting, at 6 o'clock. That's it, Mr. President.
Vice President Elliott, I want to thank you on behalf of the board because you've been pushing this Human Resource Committee for at least, few years?
Yes.
2000, Willa has the date, 2013. And the fact that we went ahead and finally did it is a testament to your stick-to-itiveness. And it's also very timely. Given some of the challenge that the district has. So, again, on behalf of the board, I want to thank you for being so diligent about that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
President White?
Yes, Commissioner Hallmark.
Yeah, I just want to say for the record that we did not have an opportunity to debate the purpose of the Personnel Committee, but I believe we need to tread very carefully on some of the topics that were brought up. Which were around teacher certification contracts and teacher evaluation. I think we need to keep it more to the bigger boulders and be focusing on policy. Just for the record, thanks.
I think, unless I misunderstood, people are sending you or Metasol their ideas, and we will have a chance to talk about that.
That's correct.
Yep, so we're not there yet.
Yeah, so there will be debate about it because Commissioner Hallmark feels one way, I feel another way. So she may not believe that that's something we should discuss, but we certainly, there's some of us who do believe that those are some things that we can discuss, particularly when it comes to Black and brown children. And, it sort of bothers me, it irritates me because they make those kinds of statements, and these are white women who don't understand the issues that we deal with. So, the arrogance of this is what sort of irritates me. So we will discuss it, we will debate it, and we will come together as a group to determine what we need to do. Now, we may decide we don't do that, but we're going to do it as a group. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. So, thank you, Vice President Elliott. Thank you, Commissioner Hallmark. Next, yes, Commissioner Davis.
I'd also like to add that the district does have an initiative, the Racial Equity Advocacy Leadership Team, that also is working on the issue of bringing more race and class teachers of color, race and class conscious teachers of color to the district. And so we also look forward to working to make that happen.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Superintendent Day.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's been a while since I've been able to present, so just going back to an amazing first day of school. Want to thank all of our students, staff, and families that made our start to the year just absolutely amazing. So you can see some of the pictures from my first day with our students here in the district. It really warmed my heart to see all the positive energy despite the rain at the start of the day. But the downpour didn't stop our excitement at School 57, where the students were coming off the bus and were greeted by the men in red. So it's a wonderful gathering of our community coming to really welcome our students on the first day of school. The community support was really amazing again at School 22, where Principal Clinton Bell and I were able to join the staff and sing and dance a little bit as the students were walking in and coming off the bus. And we'll get to celebrate the brand new renovation at that school a little bit later. I'll talk a little bit about that later. And I also spent some time at Wilson Commencement, where if you haven't heard about the 1 Million project, please tune in. It's an amazing initiative that has really started to close the digital gap, the opportunity gap here in the district. So I was able to watch and see the joy on our high school students' faces as they were able to get their new Chromebooks, and knowing that those students were able to use those Chromebooks right away, take them home with them, use the MiFi, which are mobile Wi-Fi units, to make sure that they had access at home as well. So that was a wonderful start to the year. Moving on to something I said in my first address to our staff, which is our Tweet of the Week challenge. As everyone has heard, I'm really working towards helping change the narrative here in Rochester. And changing the narrative isn't just about celebrating the great things going on in Rochester. It's really celebrating our students and our staff. Our students are absolutely phenomenal. And if the only thing that they see in the media are the negative, then we're not doing right by our community. So the teachers and staff all across this great city have taken part and really have engaged in some of my Tweet of the Week challenges. So the first Tweet of the Week, I want to thank Principal Mary Diaz and her staff at RIA and the RIA Advisory Board. You can see a picture of them up there where they had police officers, community members, staff members, all coming together as on an advisory board to make powerful decisions about the school moving forward. It's a great example of what should be taking place in each and every one of our schools. Also want to thank the students from School Without Walls, who started a 4-H program with second graders at Roberto Clemente School number 8. This is a great example of building community across schools. So our high school students coming in and working with our cherubs in the second grade. The next week's challenge, in that same week, I had so many great tweets to pick from. I picked 3 that week. But also Principal David Lincoln and his students at School 7, who were really embracing the idea of our 3 big rocks and of one family rocking together. The school had a great picture of the 3 rocks hanging up inside, and the students were taking part in discussion around it. Second week of our Tweet of the Week challenge was looking for joy and excitement in our schools. How do we showcase and celebrate the joy and excitement that is present in our schools? And we had 2 winners from RISE. First up was RISE Firsties, which are our first grade teachers and students at RISE in their new little lab coats. If you can't see that picture, please go on my Twitter feed and take a look at these babies. They're just as cute as can be in their little lab coats as they were engaging in science experiments. And then the whole staff at RISE decided to dress up in costumes that week and really rock out and celebrate having fun, and bringing joy to learning at Rise. So it was great to celebrate with music teacher Kelly Folman and the staff at Rise. Moving on to school number 22, some of us are going to have the honor of celebrating with the school 22 community during a ribbon cutting tomorrow afternoon. So I mentioned Principal Bell's new school on Upper Falls Boulevard. So the celebration is tomorrow night at 5:30, and an open house at the school will follow immediately after the ribbon cutting ceremony. Moving on to a very important welcome of Miss Tatiana Spencer, Miss Tati. We're so excited to have her with us from World of Inquiry School number 58. I asked some of Tati's educators what makes her so special, and I was told she always leads with a smile. I love that. She never says no when it comes to volunteering for student council events, and she rarely has time to spare with everything she's involved in at the World of Inquiry School. So this is an amazing leader. I would not doubt that we're going to see her on the screen in the years to come, leading our nation in some form or fashion. So welcome, Tati, to our Board of Education. Moving on to more celebrations. We have a small but very mighty swim team here for RCSD. I want to congratulate the RCSD's Girls United Swim Team for winning their inaugural swim meet on Tuesday, September 10th. This is the first time the district has had a district-wide swim team. The girls on the team are from the School of Arts, Wilson, and World of Inquiry. There are 13 young ladies on the team, and we're looking to add more. Their home pool is at the Freddie Thomas campus on Scioto Street, and they're coached by Austin Now, who is a teacher at Rochester Early College. Austin is also coach of the Rochester Rapids, a competitive age group swim team for city youth ages 6 to 21. So not only did they win their inaugural match, but they are off to a 5-0 start. So watch these young ladies closely because they're off to great things, and we're certainly all cheering them on. Next, I'd like to thank the Rochester Education Foundation for providing our students with an excellent summer learning opportunity. The REF has provided summer music lessons for several of our students over the past 6 years. Just last month, 44 of our students received music lessons in the form of individual instruction with an instrument, dance, or voice lessons, or through a camp environment with other students at the Hochstein School of Music. The REF Foundation and our teachers are instrumental in raising money to support these summer music lessons. Again, I'd like to thank our community partners and our teachers for supporting this effort. Moving on to a breaking news story. So this is one of those that really should be headlining the news right now. We're so proud of our very own Miss Jennifer Finewood, a teacher at Wilson Foundation Academy, who after school one day came to the aid of a person involved in a car accident on 590 and 390 in the town of Brighton on Tuesday afternoon. Ms. Finewood not only stopped to intervene after the crash, but she pulled the individual to safety after the car had caught on fire. Ms. Finewood is a volunteer firefighter, and through this selfless act has shown district students an excellent example of bravery and courage in the line of what had to be a extremely harrowing event. So sincere thanks to Ms. Jennifer Finewood for setting an example for all of us here in RCSD. Just a few more I haven't had an opportunity to share with y'all in a while. One of the initiatives that we put forth this summer was an at-your-service call center. I want to update you on what we put in place in the central office to support our families and facilitate timely sharing of information. We had dedicated additional staff members to answer phones when individuals called our at-your-service line. We opened the call center on the second floor here at central office on Monday, August 26th, and it ran until Friday, September 13th. Families who needed help accessing district services, specifically provided by student placement, transportation, and special education. We're able to call this number, and those calls were taken by a team of 4 people who manned the phones throughout this 3-week period. We had 1,038 calls in the first week alone. In the second week, we received a total of 650 calls. In the third week, 546. So just our true commitment to returning in a timely manner the phone calls and concerns of our parents and community. Moving on, a new placement process. You also saw this on the first floor here in central office. We really want to cut down on how long parents were waiting in lines to get help here in central office. So now if you go into that first floor and look on the right, you'll see a parent is now greeted when they enter the building, and they are assisted with an electronic process to sign in. A parent is assigned a number, and they're able to watch the number being called and when they will be served. The process is a little similar, but a little bit friendlier than what is done at the Department of Motor Vehicles. We're monitoring how long parents are waiting. In fact, for registration for grades K through 12. The average time for parents we calculated was around under 15 minutes. So again, our testament to really trying to serve our parents well. Second to last, just wanted to really update you on our climbing graduation rates. We're looking forward to accelerating progress all across the board, but we released data earlier that was a little bit below where we are now, so I want to just make sure that we absolutely give honor and celebration to the hard work of our teachers, our staff, our families, and most importantly, our students, who have now achieved a 2019 August graduation rate of 63%, which is a This is a 3.8% point increase from the previous year, and we're looking for many great things to come from our students all across the board in the coming year. Last but certainly not least, I shared with staff in earlier a message from me just updating the community on where we stood with our fiscal issue. Just as a reminder, this came to our attention late last week, and we've been working around the clock really trying to get the answers that our community and our staff and everyone involved deserves. I've been working with the finance team to really hone in on where we stand for this upcoming this current school year. And I can report that our budget shortfall is approximately $30 million at this point. Preliminary findings are just giving us some answers, and there's a lot more to come as we welcome the State Comptroller's Office to meet with President White and myself on October 4th to really dig deep into how we got to where we are. But preliminary findings are showing that we're seeing that there was overspending in the following areas. The areas are employee benefits, which include things like medical, health and dental insurance, teacher substitutes, charter tuition, retirement benefits, and contract transportation. So like if you've heard me at all in any of the media reports, we absolutely welcome the support that's being offered by everyone from Chancellor Rosa, and her team will be meeting with me early next week. The State Comptroller's Office coming soon thereafter, and we really will be able to update the entire community on October 8th with even more answers to come. So at this time, more than any other, I've rallied my staff and our amazing partners to really come together to really figure out what's going to be able to be reduced in this coming year that's not going to impact the teaching and learning and the direction and goals that we have for our students. So thank you for helping me and everyone else involved model what it looks like to look challenges in the eye and do nothing but unite together as one family, knowing that we're going to emerge even stronger after we get through this. So thank you in advance for all that you are doing.
Are there any questions for the superintendent from the members of the Board of Education? Commissioner Shepard, was you have a question?
So I guess it's kind of a request / a statement. So just hearing all the different things that have been said, I haven't put out my own individualized statement yet because I'm waiting until after the October 8th audit meeting. I want to get a full update from staff before I make my statement. But I did want to bring up the fact that I've been hearing, trying to save staff is kind of the going thing that I've been hearing. And so I just wanted to make it very clear and kind of put out a request that well, first make it clear that I'm not going to support any plan that's going to be solely focused on saving staff positions and salaries. So I'm hoping that Superintendent Day, you're able to bring forward a plan that's going to offer up protecting staff and teachers while at the same time, it places a top priority on students and the things that causes students to want to develop active. And those things are all of the extracurricular activities, the clubs, arts, anything that kids want to do that's going to get them motivated. I want to see the same amount of enthusiasm come through on that plan. Because I'll just be honest, and I hope that my statement isn't misconstrued, but I really mean it, that if I'm asked to make a choice between saving staff and students, I'm going to choose students every time. So I just hope that the plan is able to do both, because I do realize that both are necessary to make this thing work. And I know that we have a lot of tough decisions. So I just wanted to make sure that because I've heard the emphasis on staff, that we are also keeping students as a priority.
Any other questions from commissioners or statements from the commissioner? Commissioner Davis?
So at this point in time, we don't know how this happened. We're still waiting to figure that out.
That's correct.
Commissioner Davis, did you have a follow-up?
I guess I think going forward, how do we make financial decisions if we don't know how this happened? Like, I know we have a whole bunch of resolutions with financial decisions, so how do we make those? And we don't know what the processes were that went wrong.
So again, I feel like I've tried to be crystal clear with regards to this occurred, was brought to our attention late last week. We've been really working hard to figure out the amount that we needed to really start to look into for this current school year. And there's a lot of current investigations going on into how we got here. So a lot more answers are coming on October 8th as we gain more information.
So does it make sense to make financial decisions before we know how it happened?
Well, here's the reality. We were talking about serving students. If we don't pass some of these resolutions, students won't be served. So that would be my response to your statement. So I get your dilemma. Superintendent Dade is trying to say to you, if you want accurate information, he needs to have the time to produce it. I hear what you're saying. You're saying, hey, listen, how are we making these decisions? If we don't make these decisions, I heard a number of people say, it's important, and including Commissioner Shepard, it's important that we serve students. If we don't make some of these decisions today, students won't be served. Commissioner Powell? Commissioner Powell?
I certainly hear the message that you want to send, that staff positions are not at risk, or staff should not consider their positions at risk because of this. Notwithstanding that, there's a cycle that takes place, it's called Beds Day, where this early in the school year, we have to balance out classrooms in the event that, for instance, one classroom might only have 5 kids and another class have 10 kids, and those 2 classrooms could and should be consolidated for efficiency and cost effectiveness. Whether that ends up resulting in temporary layoffs, I don't know. I've never actually asked the question, what happens when we reconcile our classroom capacity, but that is part of the annual cycle, and we can't ignore that this year of all years, because classrooms only get further out of balance later in the year, and And generally, bed stay is the cutoff where we stop moving kids around, we stop moving teachers around. And I do hope that we will go through a rigorous exercise in the next week, 2 weeks, to make sure that our classrooms are at optimal capacity. Thank you.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yeah, so just a couple of, I have a million questions. I will not be asking them on a video conference, but, so I'm gonna reserve my questions for the October 8th meeting, which happens to be the audit meeting as well, because I also feel that there are several factors that led us down this path, many red flags along the way. And so with that, I also want to take a point of personal privilege to also address our oncoming board member who was discussing this concept of unity in a team. And while I feel it's very important for us to start working better together, I also don't want that message to be that we're coming in and we're going to be working together and ignoring what's happening right in front of us. And because one person is the only person waving the flag, that we're ignoring what's actually happening, and that we are able to speak out, even if we're speaking out by ourselves, about some of the issues that the district is going under. I know the new superintendent, that you're coming into some many big challenges. And I have to tell you that I 100% understand that our previous superintendent was also responsible for putting us in the hole that we're in now. And we are gonna have to make very difficult decisions. I don't know what all those decisions are gonna be. What Commissioner Powell was just talking about, this concept of true up, we heard that all last year from the previous superintendent. It never happened. It used to frustrate me to no end when they would say we're gonna true up, and I would go into a classroom and sometimes I would still see teachers with 3 to 4 or 5 kids, and true up never happened. So if there's gonna be a true up procedure in place, I wanna make sure that we know who's doing that procedure and who's gonna be responsible for making sure there's an actual true up. I asked for that before, I never got that. So I would like to understand who all is going to be involved in the true up decisions. Terry, I will reserve all of my questions for October 8th, and there may be additional questions that come up before and after October 8th, and I will schedule a one-on-one with you to have some of these conversations. But I don't even know, in terms of where we're at, what this actually will mean for kids. And it's very heartbreaking to understand that there were some really poor decisions made last year's budget and the year, and right after the budget. This board, we voted on putting back positions that we knew were cut from the budget. We voted for departments to keep a salary that they gave themselves a pay increase, and the board majority voted to keep those salaries and those increases. And you can't tell me that none of those decisions had an impact into this entire number and scenario situation. So I'm very disheartened by the whole entire thing. And that's why I released the statement that I released. Because you also can't tell me that Commissioner Powell, in meeting with finance, the staff every single month, whether we had a the committee of the whole concept is new after July 1 of this year. So this idea that we were all meeting of the whole, that did not happen until this year. Even when we disbanded the committees at the distinguished educator's request, Commissioner Powell was still the person leading the conversations around finance and meeting with the finance team. And so I'm gonna make the statements here publicly because I want them here on record too. I wholeheartedly believe that Van, you as the board president, and Commissioner Powell, who was also our vice president last year, had the most interactions with both the finance department and the superintendent, between leadership meetings on Wednesdays, one-on-one meetings on Thursdays, and once a month with the finance committee with the team, that you guys stepped down from the leadership position. I think this board needs a new opportunity to move forward in a different way with different leadership. And per our bylaws, that would make Commissioner Elliott our board president. And at this point, I would be okay with that moving forward. So I just want to throw that out there. I know you made a statement that you'd be giving up for children. I disagree with you. For someone who has kids in this district currently, it would show accountability and responsibility in leadership. That's all I'll say for now.
Vice President Elliott?
Yeah, but one of the things I would just say is that we also have to look at, if we're looking at all of this, all of the finances, one of the things that this board did that I was trying to argue against is the amount of money that we're giving to the EPO, East High School. So we also have to look at that. We cannot continue to afford to give that kind of funding and to have that structure. So I just want to make sure that we understand that that has to be included as well. So,
Any other comments? There being no further comments, thank you, Superintendent Dade. I appreciate that. All right, next order of business is we have to consider resolutions for those students that participating in government. We have a number of documents that the superintendent has put before us that tells us how the money needs to get to children and students and staff. And those resolutions are numbered. And they are according to certain subjects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my colleagues to make a motion which basically says, hey, listen, we need to talk about these particular documents that gets money and staff to students in their classrooms. So let's begin with, as we always do, human capital initiatives. Now these resolutions that deal with getting resources to students in the classroom are numbered resolutions 260 to 277. Is there a motion to discuss these human capital initiatives, 260 to 277?
So moved.
Been moved by Vice President Elliott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Powell. Any questions or comments regarding these resolutions entitled 260 to 277?
yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that you know that I talk about a lot, and I'm referencing Resolution 271, if you look at page 6, just look at the senior school secretary salaries versus the paraprofessionals. And one of the things that I know is that, at least back during the time when I met with the former president of the Paraprofessionals Union, was that 75% of those paraprofessionals are black women, people of color. And then when you look at the senior school secretaries, those positions are mainly white females. And unfortunately what happens is we don't pay black women a competitive salary as we pay white women, and they're on the front line. So having said that, what I'd like to do is to make a motion to separate those school secretary resolutions in order so that I can vote no on those. So I'm making a recommendation that these resolutions for 271 to be 271A and 271B, with the 271B being the senior school secretary, so I can vote no on that.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor by Vice President Elliott to amend 271 so that it reads 271A and 271B as described by Vice President Elliott. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any questions or comments regarding that motion? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of resolution of amending 271 so that it reads 271A and 271B as described by Vice President Elliott, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? I don't hear any opposition.
Van, can I get a clarification on who exactly is going in 271A versus?
You want to repeat that again, Vice President Elliott?
Yeah, I want to separate the ones that says at the end, the last three of 271 that says senior school secretary, that be resolution 271B.
Is that clarification sufficient?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So again, the motion is on the floor. I'm just waiting for a vote. I don't think we took, no, we did take one. We had the motion, but no vote on it yet.
We're still
In a
discussing.
second.
We're
Oh,
still
was that
discussing.
second? So I thought we did.
I thought so too.
Well, we can do it again. That's okay. That's all right. So we can take it again. But Commissioner Davis, you had a
We're
question?
still discussing right
We
now?
can, yeah.
Oh, okay.
'Cause she didn't record the vote.
For the tenure, I plan to vote no, and I want.
What-
Talking about.
We're talking.
I thought we finished
271.
amending 271.
We're still,
We haven't finished.
Hold on, too many voices. All we're discussing right now is Vice President Elliott's motion to amend 271 so it's broken up into two categories. And then we'll vote on what your feeling is on those
So we're voting on
items.
the amendment. Right?
All we're voting on right now is just the amendment. Is there any other questions or comments regarding Vice President Elliott's motion to amend 271 so it's broken up into 271A and 271B as described by her just a few moments ago? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of Vice President Elliott's motion to amend 271 so it reads 271A and 271B, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? It doesn't appear there's any opposition, so the ayes have it. All right, now, we're going to go back to discussing items 260 to 277. And so, Commissioner Davis, did you have a question?
well, I just wanted to share with the students, the P-TECH students who are here, that I'll be voting no to the tenure decisions. And the reason is that we learned at the Human Resources committee meeting that we had, that student voice and parent, grandparent, community voice is not a part of the decision-making when deciding to grant tenure. And I would like to see a way to add student voice and parent and grandparent and community voice, because often we may not know what's going on in the classroom, and unless you let us know or parents let us know if there's any difficulties with the educators that are being considered to be tenured with the district, we wouldn't know. So I upped this because in reading the Distinguished Educators Report and in reading some diagnostics from the state, there have been reports of activities that educators have done that have been negative for our students, and we don't necessarily know about those things when tenure is up without your voice and without your family's voice. So I'd like to see tenure decisions add some kind of provision or process where we hear you and we hear your families about how educators are relating to our students.
Any other questions or comments regarding resolutions 260 or 277? Commissioner Shepard, is that a comment there?
Did you say through, or are you saying?
I'm asking for comments regarding resolutions 260 through 277, which includes the amendment that was made.
Yeah, so I would like to take resolution 261 into executive session because I needed some clarification around what is happening with that, with those staff members.
All right, so just so that we know, for clarity's sake, we are about to vote. Actually, I need someone to make a friendly amendment to the motion that's on the floor right now. There's a motion to vote on resolutions 260 to 277, which includes the amendment to 271 to make it 271A and 271B. But there's hopefully a friendly amendment being made to remove 261 from that series of resolutions that we're voting on. Is there a second to that motion?
Friendly amendment for that.
Second.
The second by Vice President Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, so for you students following along, all we're doing now is we're voting on a whole series of resolutions, including an amended one, which includes 271, 271A and B, but we're not gonna vote on 261 because one of our colleagues has to ask a question about it that relates to a person that works for the district. And by law, we cannot talk about people's jobs in public, all right? So everybody here understands that's what we're doing. I hope you students are following along with us. Is there any other questions or comments regarding resolutions 260 to 277 as described by me? Commissioner Shepard? Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight resolution 265. We're about to vote on a particular staff. I know that Edison, when Walter Larkin was the principal over there, he's historic for hiring and helping out past students of his. And now that Jacob Scott is the principal over here, or over at Edison, the staff member we are about to vote on tonight for 265 was also one of his students. So I just wanted to highlight how we're lifting up our previous students in the district, and they're coming back into leadership positions.
Van?
Yes, Commissioner LeBron?
Yeah, so I'm not comfortable voting on resolutions tonight that have any monetary amount. So I just want to throw that out there because I do think there are some really wonderful individuals in these resolutions. And I definitely appreciate, especially like our bus monitors, our transportation people, and our school secretaries and being frontline staff and the work that they do day to day. So this is not personal to anybody on these resolutions. So I just want to throw that out there, but I'm just not comfortable voting on anything that has a monetary amount tonight. So I'm just putting that out there.
Okay, so when we take the vote, you're going to have to clarify. I assume you're talking about, for example, 273, 274, 275. I'm guessing from what you said, you would vote in favor of those. So, Commissioner LeBron, those don't carry any financial implications. Like one's a termination, one's a resignation, one's a leave without pay. So you're going to have to clarify that for the clerk. Because as I listen to you.
So, President White?
Yes.
For the sake of the students in the audience, would you or would somebody explain a what if, like if we decided to not vote on any money being spent, not just any money being spent tonight, how would that impact our employees?
I'll leave the answering of that question to the superintendent, of course. That's a good question.
Like President White stated, it depends on which resolution we're talking about. So what we're trying to accomplish with our human capital initiatives are there's some resignations that we need to vote on tonight that those have been submitted and for our Hci department to move forward on. There's also tenure, which is if a group of staff members achieve tenure based on their past history and their commitment to the district, then that's what they've earned to this point. And then there's another piece, like Commissioner LeBron stated, that would carry a monetary amount, things like extra pay, additional pay for things like after school, before school, providing tutoring and support for students in support of initiatives and their academic achievement.
I would just note in.
So the clarification being, if we just, a what if the whole board voted against any of these, say after school payments, would that go into immediate effect of not providing any of those services for our students starting like the next day? I'm trying to, connect the dots here for the students.
Well, let me first say, and Commissioner LeBron, this is on you. As I remember now, we're talking about 260 to 277. If you look at those resolutions, and again, Commissioner LeBron, it's your responsibility to indicate to the clerk what you mean by your vote, because you're going to have to translate your thoughts into your vote. But I look at a number of those, and they don't, again, 260 to 277, they really, and it's your vote, they really don't have a financial implication, except if you say, well, if you extend the probationary period, that would not have a financial implication. We're already hiring that. Commissioner Hallmark, just let me finish this point. And it's simply this, 260 to 277, as I look at them, they don't, most of them, perhaps not all of them, but they don't involve additional pays. It's like, someone wants to retire, someone wants to be appointed to a permanent civil service title. I think where your concerns about paying money out would be more appropriate when we get to, but that's not on the floor, 284 to 289. Those are additional, he's looking for authorization for additional pay. But again, Commissioner LeBron, when we get to voting from 260 to 277, you can articulate to the clerk which ones you're voting no to, if any at all. To Commissioner Hallmark, I think your question probably would be more appropriate at 284 to 289, because what the administration is asking for there is additional pay for people, and then you would be asking, Terry, what happens if we don't pay these people to these particular programs?
If we don't approve let's just say the whole board voted against it. So starting tomorrow or whenever, we would stop the after school. I'm talking about the ones that are for extra pay or these services, tutoring after school, the monetary ones.
Yes, that's correct. Whatever the board has to approve the funding for these resolutions.
So all of these services would immediately stop if the board were to vote it down. Just trying to clarify that for our students. Thank you.
Van?
Yes, Commissioner LeBron?
So there's several resolutions that are mixed that do have a monetary amount. I did go through, I have a list of which ones I'll be voting yes for. But the ones with even moving the probationary period or permanently appointing individuals to civil service positions do have a monetary amount. And of course, as you know, it's a permanent appointment to civil service. So I'm just gonna unfortunately vote no on those tonight. But I do wanna add that if for whatever reason tonight, there's resolutions that pass that may impact after school programs. I don't think there are any on here for after school in particular. However, I understand it was an example. I would be open to readdressing that resolution with a clear understanding of how it was budgeted and if we still actually have funding for it before I voted yes on it. But we're not going to have that level of understanding tonight. So tonight I'll be voting no on those moving forward.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Davis?
Going back to what Commissioner Hallmark was asking, so we're going to understand the how of what happened with the budget deficit on October 8th. I believe there's an audit committee. Is it possible to table that to October 8th? Would there be a loss of services if these were tabled to the October 8th audit committee?
Yes, because the extended day program.
You have to speak to your mic.
The date ranges for the extended day programs are October 1st through, which means through June 30th. So that would mean a discontinuation of services from October 1st until whenever we did vote for these.
Correct.
So again, I just want to make sure we stay focused. You all are talking about 284 to 289, and we certainly will need to talk about that. But right now, the only motion that's before this organization is referencing 260 to 277. Is there any further conversation, with the exception of 261? That has been removed. Is there any further conversation on those resolutions? There being no further conversation, all those in favor of resolutions 260 to 277, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Can I give you my no's, Marisol, by resolution call number?
Say that again, Marisol?
Can I, you mean me or Marisol?
I'm sorry, Beatrice, I'm sorry.
Okay. I want to give her my no's on which
All right, good.
resolutions I'm voting no on. I mean, on yes. It's a no for me on certain resolutions. I'm going to list all the ones I'm going to vote yes on.
All right.
So 272, yes. 273, yes. 274, yes. 275, yes. And the rest are no's for me.
All right. Anybody else have any no's?
I also have no's.
Hold on, one at a
Go
time.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I have no's, and I'll tell you the one that is a yes is 272.
272 is a yes, and the rest are no's? Did you get that, Madam Clerk? And Vice President Elliott?
No on 271B.
All right. I think, yes, Commissioner Shepard?
And I'm a no on 274.
274? Okay, you got that, Madam Clerk? All right. So, I think the ayes have it on 260 to 277, minus, of course, 261. We'll talk about that in executive session. Now I need a...
Can I just do a point of personal privilege? I forgot when I was giving my report to thank Harry for the presentation he did in the HR, what is it called? Community of the Whole. So thank you so very much.
Yep. Okay. I need a motion to discuss resolutions 284 to 289. Is there a motion to discuss resolution 284? Thank you, Commissioner Hallmark. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hallmark? Commissioner, this is 284 to 289. These are authorizations for additional pay. All right? It is, let me get it up, the motion on the floor first. I believe Commissioner Powell made the motion.
No. Liz made the motion.
Liz made the motion, and you seconded it. You got that, Madam Clerk? All right. Superintendent Day, did you want to say something about those
Yes, just an encouragement to commissioners to look at the funding code as you make your decisions moving forward. As the district receives grant funding, we have an obligation to meet the needs that were expressly written into that grant, and not doing so would jeopardize future grant opportunities. So just an encouragement to look at the funding code for each of the resolutions as you make your votes this evening.
All right, are there any other comments or questions regarding resolutions 284 and 289? These are what we call additional pay resolutions.
Dan,
Yep, Commissioner Shepard, I see you.
yeah, I do. And so I actually was gonna speak to what Superintendent Day just said. So my concern is I do want to vote on all of the resolutions that require grant funding, because I know that they are specific and there's nothing else we can do in regards to that. The problem that I have, and I have them written down here, is that within a particular resolution number, the different funding codes are not all the same. So some will come from general fund and some are grant. For instance, one of the ones I'm trying to put up on my laptop at the same time. If you go to resolution, let's just pick 286.
Right, it's listed, it lists general funds, yes.
You said 284?
No, she was 286.
No, 286.
286?
Yeah, there's
So-
a extended learning plan and a.
So on, am I talking or is somebody?
No, wait, you're talking.
Oh, so on 286, if you see the first, like the first set, it says that the funding stream is general funds, but in the same, that was from Toya, the Chief Toya Wilson. Then you go down in the same number, it's still resolution 286, but there is from Chief Carmine. His is from a grant. And so I wanted to ask if there would be some type of way that we could accept it. And that is the same for resolution 288.
Did you get her question?
Well,
Yes.
Those are already.
Sorry, all the ones that have different funding codes are 284, 286, 287, and 288.
Mr. President, I see at least two of those already have A and B designations. So it's possible for a board member to vote yes to one of, and no to the other.
Hold on one second, Madam Clerk. I have tried to allow this meeting to proceed knowing that people in the back are talking. I want to tell you respectfully, it's making it very difficult. So please, if you have to talk, keep it down so that we can hear one another. Could you repeat that again, Madam Clerk?
Would it be possible to go through each of the resolutions and the subsection, which is by letter, with the vote? I know that you grouped them, but Commissioner Shepard is asking that they be separated based on general fund versus grant funding.
Yeah, I see. So if you look at 286, she's saying that A and
284,
B.
the first one has two different funding sources in A and B.
All right. Yeah, I don't have any problem doing it that way. I would just suggest if that's how these are being drafted, when we do the agendas, I don't have any problem with you deciding that you're going to craft the agenda to reflect maybe the breakdown in the vote. That's fine. Okay. So, but we can do that today if that would make it easier. So, so we're not going to vote on the motion that was made to discuss resolutions 284 to 289. Carl, would we have to formally withdraw that motion?
You actually didn't have a vote.
Well, I know we didn't vote.
The motion would still be extant, but as you call for the vote, and as much as the chair can exercise the privilege to split, given the request of the commissioner, you can proceed that way. So the motion is fine.
Okay, all right. All right, so are there any further questions or comments? So if that's what I will do. I will break down these resolutions, resolution by resolution. If I don't do it accurately, I'm sure you guys will make sure that I get the right support that I need to do that. So are there any further comments about any of these? We know how we're going to approach it procedurally, but are there any more substantive questions about these? All right, I think we're good. So all those in favor of resolution 284A, say aye.
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 No.
All right,
And no for me.
so I heard an aye from Commissioner Powell, a no from Commissioner Davis. It was a yes for me. No. It's a no for Vice President Elliott. Commissioner LeBron?
No for me for 284A.
A. And Commissioner Hallmark?
She's not there. I don't know where she went.
No, I can see that. Commissioner Shepard?
No for A.
Did you say no, Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, what's the vote? No.
Three.
Oh.
3 nays. Commissioner Hallmark. All right. I don't know where she went.
Well, hopefully she'll come back before I finish talking, but one consideration is that these additional pay resolutions are for October, or this particular one is just for this month, so it doesn't bind us deeply into the future. Some of these others are for the entire school year, but if the superintendent felt it necessary, he could offer us an amendment or offer to amend this resolution going forward. You know, once the whole financial picture is clear to us, and potentially stop a program in order to help reconcile the books.
Can I say?
Yes, Commissioner Shepard.
So I just want to be very clear at this moment that, and I know we're talking about 284. So just taking a look at the fact that we're going to pay extra money for teachers to talk about how to improve from last school year, I feel like they should be doing that anyways. And I'm not sure that they should be getting paid. You know, this is becoming a problem. It's not in light of what we've had recently in regards to finances, but I got kids in this district who, and I'll just use robotics. I could use any extracurricular activity or clubs. I got kids that the robotics team is trying to figure out how they're gonna pay for our kids to compete. And we talk about how we want our kids to be involved in STEM and stuff, and we're spending money for teachers to review and reflect. I'm just not with that anymore. Because we don't have unlimited funds. And now I see that it's gonna come down to choosing until we figure out a way that we can advocate fully for both at the same time. So I just wanna be very clear as we go through these things, some of this stuff teachers are gonna have to understand that they're salary and they should want to improve. And every time that they're trying to improve on stuff, they shouldn't have to get paid.
Van?
Yes, Commissioner LeBron.
Yeah, so I just I hear what the superintendent's saying, so I'm going to support those that are grant funded, that we know the funds. I said this last year, I understand grant funds can only go into the things that we wrote in the grant that we were gonna do. So I did separate which ones I'll be voting for that are grant funded. Now, I do wanna, again, put it out there, if we have a meeting again on Tuesday, Terry, so I would not wanna wait till October 8th if this is gonna impact the schools next week or kids next week. But I would just need to understand very clearly where the funds were budgeted for this, and if that money still exists in that line. And if you can show that and demonstrate that to me, I would change my vote after tonight to support that, but I would need to see evidence that it's there. So anything general funds, I won't be supporting, but I will absolutely support the grant funded stuff that's on here tonight.
Well, bless you. I'm not sure where Commissioner Hallmark is at this particular time. The motion would fail. because I think it's 3-3. However, Carl, could it be reopened if she comes back? I have no idea where she went.
That's the pleasure of the board. The board can reopen it, yes.
Motion to
Would be a
reconsider.
reconsideration tonight.
No.
I'm sorry, be a motion to reconsider.
Would be a motion to reconsider tonight.
Thank you. I have 4 no. So, yeah, it wouldn't work. All right, thank you. All right, so that particular resolution's been decided. I assume, Mr. Superintendent, you'll figure out what should happen next. I need a motion to discuss resolutions 284B. Is there a motion?
We're all covered under the same motion.
I'll motion.
I'm sorry, that's right, we're just voting. All those, thank you very much. All those in favor of resolution 284B, say aye.
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 And
Any
no for-
nays?
Nay.
No for me.
And there's 1 nay.
I'm no to
2.
all. Let me just put it out there.
So there's 2 nays. Did I miss any nays? So, Madam Clerk, what's the vote on that? So that particular resolution passes. All right, I need a motion to discuss resolution 280.
No, you don't.
No, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm in such a routine of just doing it. Now let's turn our attention to resolution 285. All those in favor of resolution 285A?
Can I have a roll call for this, please?
Yes, 285, well, 285 is just A. Am I reading that correctly? Yes?
You are correct.
Yep. So, all those in favor of resolution 285, say aye. Commissioner Powell?
No.
No.
We're doing a roll call. Commissioner Powell?
No for me.
Commissioner Davis is no. I'm a yes.
No.
Vice President Elliott is a no. Commissioner LeBron is a
No.
no. Commissioner Shepard?
No.
No.
I can't hear you.
She said no. She's a no.
No. All right, what's the vote on that?
I don't get it.
All right. Superintendent, you got that? All right. That would move us to resolution 286. All those in favor of resolution 286A?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Davis?
No.
So no. I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott? Is a no. Commissioner LeBron?
No.
No. Commissioner Shepard?
No.
Commissioner Shepard?
No. No.
No.
All right. Yeah, please speak into the mic. I think we're having a tough time hearing you.
Does not
Thanks.
pass.
All right. I need a, no, I don't. Resolution 286B. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes.
No.
Vice President Elliott? No. Commissioner LeBron?
Which number? 286?
286B.
286B, yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
And we don't have Commissioner Hallmark back.
Passes.
That passes. All right. 287, A. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Commissioner, Vice President Elliott?
No.
Is a no. Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
So the yeses have it. All right. 287B. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
So the yeses have it. 288, A. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
All right. And no, Commissioner Hallmark. 288C. Commissioner Powell?
Oh, we did B.
B.
Oh, did I skip B? I'm sorry. Thank you. I knew you guys would keep me on track. 288B. Commissioner Powell?
That's a UPK grant, yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Yes.
Commissioner LeBron? Okay, there you are. Yes. Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
Okay. 288C. Commissioner Powell?
This is also a UPK grant. I vote yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron? Commissioner LeBron? I think are you on mute?
Yes. I'm sorry, I was on mute, yes.
Okay, yes. Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
You saw, you heard a yes? Okay. All right, the yeses have it. 288D. D.
Oh, that's
we just
also a
did C.
UPK. I
No,
vote
we,
yes.
again, we're maintaining our order of business up here. We are on D, 288D. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. 288E. Commissioner Powell?
That's a UPK grant. I vote yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Commissioner, Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
All right. 288F. Commissioner Powell?
Also UPK grant, yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
All right. We're at 288G. Commissioner Powell?
Also a UPK grant. I vote yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner Shepard, I see you there.
Yes.
Yes, and Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
All right, what is that? G. Now we are on H. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Commissioner Davis?
No.
Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner Shepard?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
No.
So that resolution does not pass, Mr. Superintendent? 288I. Commissioner Powell?
This is for curriculum development work. I don't know how we're going to get better unless we support people for that, so I vote yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Commissioner, Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron, I see you there.
Yeah, which number is it?
We are on
288I?
288I. Yep.
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
No.
Madam Clerk, what's the number on that?
3-3.
3-3. So at this particular point, that does not pass. Could you keep track of the ones where we're at 3-3? And if she shows back up, we'll do a motion to reconsider where it's a 3-3, okay?
Yes.
All right, so we're on 288J. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
No.
Commissioner Shepard?
No.
That's a no. Got that, Mr. Superintendent?
Yes.
Let's see, Resolution 288K.
Yes.
That was Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner Shepard?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
No.
Let's see, 288M is in Mary. I'm sorry, LM, yep.
I just want to ask my colleagues, so they understand this is to help implement the Joy DeGruy model, or relationship model. Do they really want to see that go down?
So can I just add, Van,
Yes,
that I'm only approving those that are grant funded, that the grant was specifically written to fund these resolutions. And I understand the work that's being done there, but that is coming from general funds. And that's where we have our deficit overall is gonna be in the general fund. So it's gonna be a no for me until Terry and his team can show me where it was budgeted for, that money still exists to pay for it. I'm not gonna be voting yes on any general funds money tonight. So, yes,
Based
I
on that,
fully
do I have to go
understand what the resolution states.
Say that again, Madam Clerk.
Does she want me to go back to 287I,
No, no, no.
where she voted yes, and it's a general fund?
Well, listen, I mean, if someone wants to make a motion to reconsider, she hasn't said that. She's just re-articulated what her position is, and she did that in the context of 288L. So.
Wait, I was at 288I, I'm sorry, I said the wrong number.
Yeah. So, again, just so that I make sure we're all on the same page, we're on 288L. So I want to make sure that the record is clear. Commissioner Powell, what's your vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner LeBron?
No.
And Commissioner Shepard?
No.
Okay. All right, 288M. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner Shepard? Commissioner Shepard, I didn't get your response.
I have a question, actually.
Yes.
So for 288M, it says the justification is as a direct service, the student staff will provide compensatory tutoring service per mediation agreement. What does that really mean?
Good evening. So this resolution is for the result of two separate mediation agreements for two students that attend school number 29. So I'm not sure how much detail, but these are two separate parents. We went into mediation. They both were results of the district's failure to provide certified teacher in one area, and in another area, services, CT services. So during the mediation, it was agreed upon that the students would receive compensatory services in the form of extra tutorial after school.
Okay, that'll be a yes for me.
So Commissioner Shepard, I think indicated that will be a yes for you, is that right?
Yeah.
Commissioner LeBron?
No.
Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, where are we at with that?
No.
No? What was the vote, Taylor?
4-3, no.
4-3, no. Okay.
What? I thought I
It was a
heard.
4-3 no.
No, that was 4.
1,
I heard.
2, 3. No, it was 4-3 yes.
Who
Because
voted yes
Natalie
here?
said
Natalie
yes.
and Liz both voted
Natalie
yes.
said yes.
Okay.
Liz said yes. I said yes, and Willa said yes.
My apologies.
No worries. No worries. We'll go slower if that's necessary. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Morgan. All right. We are on 289. Looks like that's just one resolution. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No. Did we make a motion?
Remember we made the motion earlier?
it's all part of
Yeah,
one.
that's all right. That's all right. That's a no for you?
No.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Commissioner Hallmark, since I see you there?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
That's a yes for me.
Commissioner LeBron?
No.
Madam Clerk, what's the tally on that?
Yes,
That's a
4-3.
yes. All right. Now, Madam Clerk, what were the ones that we ended up with a 3-3 tie where perhaps if we made a motion to reconsider, Commissioner Hallmark's vote might make a difference. Not that it would, but, so we'll give her the opportunity. The Commissioner,
288,
let's just do this one.
288I.
288I, let's back up. Commissioner Hallmark, we took a vote in your absence with respect to 288I. Are you still there? Yeah, I see you there.
Yes, I'm here. With respect to, I'm sorry, what?
288I, it's page 22 in the yellow packet, if you have the yellow packet there.
Yep, I'm looking at board docs right now.
Okay. Tell me if you take the moment, the time that you need, tell me what your vote would be on 288I. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask the superintendent.
288, what letter, alphabetical
I know I have to
letter?
make a motion to reconsider.
That should precede.
Proceed, okay, thank you. Commissioner Powell, you want to make the motion to reconsider?
Does it have to be from, it has to be from someone who hadn't voted, so Liz would have to request the motion to reconsider.
Liz, you want to
I'm
make
sorry.
the motion?
Was
Liz,
this for
since
Jay?
you weren't here, Carl, you tell me if I'm right or wrong, we're right or wrong about this. It can be made by the person who wasn't here or the person who voted in the affirmative?
Can be made by the person who wasn't here.
Okay, all right. You have to, Liz, in order to get back in the scheme of things here, you have to make a motion to reconsider so that your vote can be included in Resolution 288I. So are you making that motion?
I make that motion.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It's Commissioner Powell. So take the time you need, look at 288I and tell us what your vote would be on that.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. President.
She can't.
Does there have to be a vote on the motion which has been made and seconded?
Very well, yep. There is a motion to reconsider, thank you, Carl. There's a motion to reconsider our vote with respect to Resolution 288I. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No for me.
There's one no from Vice President
No
Elliott.
for
I
me,
heard-
too.
Hold on, let's make sure she hears this. No for Vice President Elliott. I think I heard no from Commissioner Shepard and a no from Commissioner LeBron. Is that right?
Yes, it's a no.
Is there Commissioner Davis? Where were you at with this?
I say yes.
Yes. All right, so that's 1, 2, yeah, so that's 4. So the motion passes. So now, Commissioner Hallmark, take the time that you need to look at the information provided by the administration. Tell us what your vote would be with respect to Resolution 288I.
Mr. President, the motion to reconsider, we all recast our votes, correct?
Yes, oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. But I just want to,
Give her heads up.
Yeah, I support that.
All right, so Vice President Elliott left. People don't want to stay around to vote. Matter of fact, Steve, could you do me a big favor and see if you see Vice President Elliott? I want to give her an opportunity. Now she left. I think we know how she might vote, but I can't do it that way. So let's begin the vote. Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a yes. Commissioner Hallmark, you voted yes. Commissioner
Yes.
Shepard? Commissioner Shepard?
What? No.
Yeah, what number are you, did you go back to no resolution?
No, there was just a little history here. There was a motion by Commissioner Hallmark to reconsider 288I.
Oh,
That
okay,
motion
it's a no
passed.
for me, thank you.
That motion passed. Now we're voting on the actual resolution.
Okay.
All right,
But
so,
we already vote?
so you're a no. Commissioner Shepard? You're a no or yes?
I'm trying to pull it up. Did we already vote on this?
We
Yeah,
did.
they brought it back
but-
up, though.
But there was a
I know,
motion.
but doesn't my vote that I already cast still count?
No, because it's a motion to reconsider, so we have to start anew. We start fresh. Everybody votes again. That's what a motion to reconsider does.
I thought that the rule said if you are not in, when we are voting, that you miss your opportunity. I'm just confused.
Well, I hear you, but our parliamentarian tells us that if the person who wasn't in the room at the time makes the motion to reconsider and that motion passes, then you can revote. That's what our parliamentarian is telling us. So that's why we're
I'm not
revoting.
saying he's not telling the truth, but I've never seen that in writing.
Okay, well.
But I guess that one is a no for me.
So, Madam Clerk, what's the vote?
Right now, you are at 3.
3-3. So it still doesn't pass. Because I think Vice President Elliott had voted no on that in any event. So, all right. Ooh. All right, where were we? We were at 289. And we are not going to do a motion to reconsider because Vice President Elliott is coming back in the room. So, did we do 289? No. Madam Clerk, did we vote on 289?
No.
Yes. Yes? You're telling me no. They're saying yes.
Hold on a second. Can I have 1 second?
Just give her a second.
Yes, 289,
All right.
4-3.
That one, we did vote on that. All right, so that gets us through those series of resolutions. So now we are on resolutions 294 to 295. Is there any reason, before we, get a motion, is there any reason to bifurcate or separate those two resolutions? Can we take them as a bunch? Yes. 294 and 295, any problem? Anybody have any issue, concern about doing that?
Van, I'm going back to them too, because I don't have a paper.
I'm sorry, you'll have to speak to the mic, Commissioner LeBron.
Sorry, so we have a different setup over here, obviously, so I have a phone to look through them versus the paper copy when it's in front of me. So going back is not that easy. But actually, I did want to put a motion to put 294 through 316 on the table until Tuesday. So the reason that we're making that request is because it's my understanding that these are not coming from general funds, but capital funds. And I just, again, if Terry and his team could show us that it was budgeted, that in that A-line, not A-line, the capital funds, that they're still there and still available and that this would be covered, I would support all of these resolutions. So I just wanted to see if I can put a motion to table them until Tuesday to give Terry and his team an opportunity to show us where they're budgeted for in the capital line.
So,
Mr. President?
yeah, I'm going to get you in 1 second. So you're describing your position with respect to 294 all the way to 316. Is that right, Commissioner LeBron?
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Powell?
Resolutions 294 and 295 are not capital projects. These are standing contracts to handle contingencies, in particular for parts to repair our fleet, our buses and our vans and what have you. So in order to buy parts to keep our buses and trucks on the road, we have these standing contracts with parts vendors. These are resolutions that represent the best pricing that we can get. So without these resolutions in place, we can't buy the parts because we won't have an approved vendor list. That's what this does.
Van?
Yes, Commissioner LeBron?
So while I understand that, I still need to see that there is funding for these things, including fixing our buses and the parts. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for 294 through 316, which I think all of them play a significant role in the maintenance of our schools, our buses, our buildings. But I still would like to see where the funding is actually allocated and if it still exists in those lines. So all I'm asking for is a motion to put these on hold until Tuesday to allow Terry and his team. Otherwise, some of those are going to be at risk tonight to not pass, and that presents another issue and a much bigger issue for the school and the district. So I just want to throw that out there.
Okay, Commissioner Powell, you wanted to finish?
I also want to say that resolutions 296 through 299 are final payments. These are for capital work that's already done. The punch tickets are finished. We've decided that the work is complete. The work has already been done, and the vendors deserve to get paid.
Superintendent Dade, what would be, I'm in total agreement with Commissioner Powell on those final payments. I mean, we have a contractual obligation, I would imagine, to pay those. But what would be the impact of waiting until Tuesday? Would there be any impact? I can't imagine there would be.
Not waiting until Tuesday, no.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable request. Actually, there's not even a motion before the floor. I know that people were anxious to talk about these, but, so why don't we do this? Why don't we get a motion to discuss resolutions 294 to 295, to 316? Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner LeBron, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any questions or comments? My only one is I would agree with Commissioner Powell. I mean, I don't even want to bother to ask our attorney what would happen if we, I mean, I guess if we didn't pay it tomorrow, no one would sue for breach of contract, but the theory here is we have to make these final payments. It sounds to me, I would guess, you don't have to respond, Carl, but we've made a commitment to pay these people, otherwise they wouldn't be final payments pursuant to some contract, right, Mike? I don't need a long explanation. I think that's probably a very reasonable assumption, and I'm going to go with that. And then with respect to these, just let me finish. The balance of these, I think there's no reason. Terry tells me there's no reason to wait. Given our financial circumstance, why not make sure that the money? You know, I brought this up at a committee meeting the other night. We ought to be certifying that the cash is there. That is when we're in committee and we're talking about it. That is optimally the better way to do it. I mean, we're doing this now on the day of the vote. It would have been better if we did this when these things were vetted in finance, like we were discussing the other day. But if there's no harm in waiting until Tuesday, this is not a bad approach, and there's no harm. Commissioner Powell?
So just for clarification, the motion on the table is to table?
That's the motion.
Until
and
Tuesday.
it goes right to vote.
Until Tuesday.
Until Tuesday.
Until Tuesday.
I understand. Thank you.
Yep. Since I had to remind myself, since a motion to table goes directly to a vote, we really probably shouldn't have been talking about it. All those in favor of, we'll strike that. Because, Commissioner LeBron, let me ask you this. Do you have any problem in not tabling 296 to 299, or you want to table them all?
I want to table them all, but I would be okay with an amendment. It just may not pass tonight, and I don't know what the implications of that are going to be. But right now it's a no for me. However, if Terry and his team can show us the evidence that the funding was budgeted for and it exists and it's in capital and that we have enough to cover all of these resolutions, I would fully support it. I don't want to put our schools, our vendors, and our buses in a situation where they have needs that they're not going to be able to be met or have delays in repairs, which is why I'm asking just until Tuesday. I think that's enough time for his team to get that information to us.
So unless Mike or Carl, who I see conferring back there, tells me that the sky would fall if we just tabled even these final payments,
I have
which
a
I think.
question.
And so do I.
What's that?
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I would just assume we just keep these all together. Carl, is there any problem doing that? Mike, is there any problem with just keeping these all together and we'll decide this on Tuesday?
Well, I was going to offer an
Table till
amendment
Tuesday
to
is
let the early
appropriate, and
ones.
from what I've been able to discern quickly, there should be no harm as a result.
Okay, all right, so that's what we'll do. There's a motion to table. It's going to go directly to a vote. Again, let's be clear about this. Motion to table resolutions 294 to 316. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That's
Aye.
Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Davis, you're good with that? I am. Mr. Vice President Elliott, is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Hallmark?
This is to table it till Tuesday?
Till Tuesday, yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Commissioner Shepard?
I'm okay with that. Can I say something?
Yeah, sure. We've a motion to table, just so that
I
you
know,
know.
but you just said that we were going directly to vote, and then you did all of that extra commentary. But I just wanted to say that we had the finance committee, and then all of this stuff with the budget came up after that. So what I would hope that in the future, when we have resolutions coming forward, we need to know, and I don't think that it would be unreasonable. I'm not sure if we would be able to do it. I can't see our general counsel right now. But can we put on every resolution, because not just for us, but for people in the community that are looking at the resolutions, can we put what the balance is as of the date of the resolution that was written and how much it's gonna cost, so they can also see that the money is there and where it's coming out of, and how much would be left for every resolution?
Well, and I think that's what we were talking about. That's a little more detail, but I think that's what we were talking about at our last, what was it, I think it was finance or committee of the whole, providing some certification from somebody who can say, yeah, the money is there to pay for this particular resolution. Again, and I think we're in agreement. I'm sorry?
I was gonna say, I'm not talking about, I don't know, you said certification from somebody. I'm just saying putting the actual numbers on the resolution.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep.
Oh, okay, I just want to make
that's
sure.
what I'm talking about. And I think we're also in agreement that that would be done in advance of this meeting, because we've consumed, well, it's very important, we've consumed a lot of time talking about this stuff, and it is going to take the administration and the board, because all this stuff should be vetted at the committee meeting. And so the sooner you can work on certification, whatever you want to call it, the better, because we want to make sure that we come here, we're voting, and we have all the information we need. And there would have presumably been a recommendation from the Finance Committee when it got sent up here, okay? So, all right, so that motion to table passed.
I need Commissioner Shepard's vote. She did
Commissioner
not
Shepard,
vote.
I thought, Commissioner Shepard, what is your vote? I thought you voted
Yes.
She voted yes. And we got everybody else's vote. So that one is tabled for a date certain, which would be Tuesday. What date is that? October 1st. That is the motion that was passed. All right, so we're next moving on to resolutions 317 through 325. These are deemed other. Now, first of all, can I get a motion?
Which numbers, 317 to what?
317 to 325. And again, it's just for those who don't know, our students are gone.
Yes.
Passing the motion doesn't mean that.
Motion.
Yep, we're passing the.
317 to 325.
Okay, let me finish the description.
sorry.
Oh, that's all right, that's all right. So there is a motion from Commissioner LeBron, seconded by, can I get a second from somebody?
Second.
Second by Vice President Elliott. All right, so Commissioner LeBron, I'll begin with you. These are a number of agreements that look like they're new agreements. This could be complicated a bit, but I don't want to get ahead of you, but these seem like these are new agreements. Do we have the cash to cover these agreements? Can anybody certify that?
317.
317, because these are.
319. Some of these are grant funded.
317 is a grant.
Okay,
so if you could take that one first, that would be
Well,
great.
all right, so I tell you what, that's a good idea.
Can we
Let's
roll
do
call
this.
them?
I'm going to do them one by one.
Okay, thank you.
First of all, so I'll just, I got a motion and a second, but we're going to vote on them one by one. If there's any questions in advance of the vote, when I call out the number, begin to ask your questions, and then we'll do a roll call vote. Does that sound fair to everybody? All right, so let's begin with 317. Any questions or comments regarding Resolution 317? There being no questions or comments, all those in favor of Resolution 317, say aye. I'll begin with you, Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
No.
I'm a yes. Commissioner, Vice President Elliott.
Yes.
Commissioner LeBron.
Who,
Commissioner
me?
LeBron?
Yes.
Yep. Commissioner LeBron is a yes. Commissioner Shepard.
Yes.
Commissioner Hallmark.
Yes.
All right. Now we're going to discuss, being mindful that we already passed the motion to discuss 317 to 325, and talk about 318. Any questions or comments regarding Resolution 318?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
If everyone could read the description, this is our career pathways to public safety. So when we're talking about serving our students, this is one to just really think about with regards to impact on students in the district right now. I believe it's brought to the table this evening because it exceeded the threshold of 35,000 to be brought today.
Any other questions or comments regarding 3?
And
Yes,
Van,
ma'am. Commissioner
I just have a
LeBron?
comment. So I'm really
Yep.
familiar with this program, and it does allow our students to do the training if they're going into the program to be firefighters or police officers, and it allows them to go to the Y to do the training with the other students who are in the program and the instructors. And so I will be supporting that program, and I just want to explain a little bit further what that program actually does.
Okay, any other questions or comments regarding Resolution 318? All right, roll call vote, Commissioner Powell,
Yes?
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Commissioner Vice President Elliott,
Yes.
Commissioner LeBron.
Yes.
That's a yes. Commissioner Shepard,
Yes.
and Commissioner Hallmark.
Yes.
All right, the ayes have it. 319. Any questions or comments regarding Resolution 319? All right, doesn't seem like there are any questions or comments. Commissioner Powell,
Yes?
Commissioner Davis.
No.
I'm a yes. Commissioner Vice President Elliott,
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard,
Yes.
Commissioner Hallmark,
Yes.
and Commissioner LeBron.
Yes.
All right. Resolution 320.
Comment?
Sure.
So although this isn't listed as grant funded, but we do get that $9 million health grant from the state, separate from our regular school aid. And we do have an obligation to reimburse other schools outside our district for, that have our students in their student body for the health services.
Any other questions or comments regarding Resolution 320?
I would just want to reiterate the fact that it's New York education law that we're discussing with this particular resolution.
Any other questions or comments regarding Resolution 320? All right. Commissioner Powell,
Yes?
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Commissioner Vice President Elliott,
Yes.
Commissioner Hallmark,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Shepard,
Yes.
and Commissioner LeBron.
Yes.
All right. Just if you guys are curious, I'm reading you guys' names that are remotely participating based on whose face is in the big screen, so it's very arbitrary. So, 321. Any questions or comments regarding 321?
A comment?
Yep, Mr.
This-
Powell?
This doesn't cost us anything. The way that this consultant gets their revenue is they take a cut from any savings that they achieve on our behalf.
All right. Any other comments or questions regarding Resolution 321?
I just wonder, is there
Yes,
a
ma'am.
reason that we think that there would be significant savings in doing this?
Well, let them try to answer. Thank you.
Is Tim here?
Tim
Tim can handle it.
So to answer your question, I don't believe there's any particular reason, but best practice would be to do this at least every 3 years. I think we did it in 1999. I think they were able to save the district $400,000. Recently, BOCES, they were able to return a rebate to them of $2.5 million. And Churchville, Child, Parrington, so other districts do this on a routine basis, and we haven't done it for quite some time. So I think it would probably be prudent that we do it. But no, there was no specific event. So they look at utility bills, telecom bills, all the different utilities to see where there might be a meter that's we're paying for that we haven't dismantled or things like that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you.
Yes?
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
Yes.
Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
And Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Okay. 322. She voted yes. Yep. 322. Any questions or comments regarding 322? And just to refresh folks' memories, we did talk about these and a number of these. I do recall talking about that. I know there were some questions about this, but this is a case where this was before our committee, it was discussed, now it's up here for the final vote. But anybody's free to vote the way they want to, of course. 322, Commissioner Powell.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
Yes.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
And Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
All right. Okay, almost there, folks. 324. Any questions or comments regarding Resolution 324? All right, let's begin with the voting. Resolution 324, Commissioner Powell, what say you?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Vice President Elliott?
Yes.
Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
And Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
All right. And I think this is the last one. This is 325. It's a policy amendment. This is the bylaws amendment. I just want to thank Commissioner Shepard and Carl for their diligence in passing. A lot of board members worked on this, but I know that Commissioner Shepard and our general counsel worked on revising these bylaws through the input of all board members. So I want to thank you for that. In fact, folks probably didn't even notice it. Some of the stuff on our agenda changed order because of some of the bylaws changes. So some of these things you probably won't even see happening, but they will impact our practice or how we do business. So any other comments regarding 325? And of course, you all know these bylaws can be changed multiple times. It's sort of a living, breathing document. So,
Yeah, Mr. President, I
Yes,
probably
ma'am.
will be voting no on this. And the reason is in reference to the section that talks about attendance and whether or not the board decides whether or not it's an excuse or not. And my concern about that is that it's tenable, meaning that, you know, it could become political. So if 4 people want to not accept your excuse for being absent, then it's also, if I read it correctly, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, they will, that may mean that they want to get you off the board. Now, and that's that can be an issue because you're elected by the community. And so I just think that that language is language that is slippery. And so my vote will be no. And I have an issue with that because what I may consider an excuse, somebody else may not be considered an excuse. And if you get 4 people to vote on that, that's a problem there. It's problematic for me. So I'll be voting no on that.
any other questions or comments regarding this resolution?
Oh, just one other thing.
Sure.
And then the fact of that you cannot miss, if you miss 3 meetings of a particular meeting, subject matter. So for example, the Finance Committee, we had this discussion. So if you miss 3 of those, then, you know, there's an issue, there will be an issue there. So those 2 things I have some issues with, and I'll vote no on this.
Commissioner Davis?
And for myself, because of the first reason, the slippery slope, I also will vote no.
Commissioner Powell?
Mine is a procedural question on the agenda. The health and safety policy, that's going to be discussed under new business as a proposed policy, is that correct? Because it's not listed by name on the agenda.
Commissioner Shepard requested that that be tabled.
Tabled.
Okay, I thought because it was under, I thought maybe this was a discussion item and wasn't scheduled to be voted in the first instance.
No, I think this was up for a vote today because we put this up, I'm talking about 2300. We put this
Oh,
up.
no, I'm
Yeah.
talking about 8100.
Yeah, no, that, Commissioner Shepard?
Commissioner Shepard?
I know you mentioned this during your report. Could you repeat why you wanted to table that or not discuss that other policy change, real briefly?
Yeah, so there was an amendment that occurred to the policy, and I needed to have a chance to ask Kalia when that amendment came about. So we had advanced something, and I think the resolution was missing some wording, and so I just needed to clarify that. And I just learned of that today, so I didn't get an opportunity to clarify with it.
Okay, it just occurred to me that since we weren't scheduled to vote on it in any instance, we could at least use this opportunity as a discussion item in the event that nothing, that no one else had concerns.
Right now, Commissioner Powell, we're focusing on.
Yeah, that's all right, I just wanted an
okay.
agenda clarification.
Okay, all right. So to policy 2300, any other comments or questions? I've been on this board as a public speaker reminded me, not that I have forgotten. I've been on this board about 12 years, it's been 12 years exactly. And other than one instance where the Democrat Chronicle seemed to be preoccupied with people's attendance, and it wasn't political, but there was some agenda there. Always does appear to be an agenda over there. We have never had a problem. Now, there are periods of time where people aren't able to make meetings, and there are, some of them are legitimate reasons, and some of them are legitimate because they're medical, and sometimes it's legitimate because people have a certain feeling or about attending. But by and large, I do not think that that has been a problem for this board. I mean, we have challenges. We certainly have challenges. But attendance, while particular situations might be frustrating if we don't have a particular people or quorum, it can be frustrating. But by and large, I don't think that's been our challenge. We got challenges, trust me. I don't think the attendance is, and so I look at the remarks after, so if you go on page 2, paragraph 4, I think A and B are fine. It says the commissioner knows in advance he or she will be absent, will inform somebody, in this case it's the board president, in the absence of the board president, vice president, they're going to be absent. That's a reasonable expectation. So people will know. So we could cancel a meeting if we didn't have a quorum. We could say, hey, Superintendent, we may not have the right number of people here, so can we put this off? And then B says the president, vice president, presiding officer, as the case may be, either before or at the beginning of the scheduled meeting, will notify all other commissioners the absence, so people can sort of work things out. So, but everything after that, we've generally not done. And again, while we've had some moments where it's been difficult, there have not been that many of the moments. And I, like Commissioner Davis, or it might have been Vice President Elliott, I'm worried about the human side of this, that it could be, and none of us are perfect, and we all have had our vulnerable moments, but I could see the C through F being used for reasons that might be not necessarily revealed. So I'm a no on everything from C through
President White?
F. Yes. Who was that? Commissioner Shepard? Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, I had brought up the idea that we should probably decide what's excused and not excused, because if I'm correct, or if I'm not mistaken, by state law, it uses the terminology excused or inexcused. And is Carl there tonight?
Yeah, he's here.
Carl, can you let us know what the law says in regards to absence for a school board member, a commissioner, for meetings?
Yes, my general recollection, although I don't have the statute in front of me at the moment, is that there is a rule to the effect that if a board member meets misses 3 consecutive meetings without excuse, that can constitute grounds for an action to remove the board member, essentially for abandoning office.
Is there anything that says excused versus non-excused? I know we talked about this in the meeting, and I don't have it in front of me either, where we as a board are to decide what we accept as an excused and non-excused absence.
Yes, and the policy correctly repeats what the law is in that respect. There's a reporting requirement. All the commissioners are informed. And at the beginning of the meeting, normally the president will make a declaration, ask whether there's any objection. If there is an objection, then there will be a vote, and the majority rules.
So the policy we're putting forth is in line with the law.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Commissioner Powell?
so, Mr. President, I hope I can change your mind about any no vote, because you'd have to vote against the entire policy. But, so here's the thing. The first task is to have an agreed upon expectation, and that's what this lays out. It doesn't. Secondly, if board members show up to meetings, it doesn't matter whether, you don't have to have the conversation about excused or unexcused. You're here. Third, any concern about this language being used in a vindictive way to eliminate a board member, keep in mind that if the board chose to take an action against one board member because of absences, that board member has the right to appeal it, and the Commissioner of Education in Albany would essentially arbitrate that. So I think that the check and balance is that the board would have to weigh the consequences of having their decision overturned before they even consider trying to vote a board member off. And so I see that as a highly unlikely action. I think the most valuable aspect of these additions, though I didn't craft them, the most valuable contribution these make is to set a common agenda. And even if we have board members that vote no to this policy, if the policy passes, we are all bound by those expectations.
Well,
President White,
Yep. Commissioner Hallmark.
when I was discussing it earlier, it's really an effort about, it's not a vindictive thing, it's an effort about cultural change, changing the culture of the board. And if people simply attend, it's not an issue. But it's about expectations about how we all meet in meetings of a whole, and we are all receiving the information at the same time, and we are all much better informed and unified as a team, even if we have different opinions. But that's what it helps us move toward a cultural change.
Yes, Commissioner
I
LeBron.
also want to add that for me, in supporting this, it's about accountability for all of us as well.
Can't
So
hear
that,
you. You guys
we're
speak up
there
just a little
as the
bit.
Committee of the whole, we're all hearing the same information at the same time. And that's how I strongly feel like we should be moving forward on many of these things, but just want to throw that out there.
Well, Commissioner Shepard, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, so I also wanted to clarify that whether this passes or not, this particular amendment, that is still state law. So if we don't have it in the bylaws, we still have to abide by state law, and these terms still apply. I guess that's a question for Carl.
You are absolutely correct. It is state law. We're not obligated to implement, to invoke any of these provisions. We could, but we don't have to. And one could argue there have been board members throughout the long, illustrious history of this board where they could have invoked these provisions. They did not. It's not mandatory. But I hear you. It's in the law. My concern is that sometimes people use the law to promote culture. It's not the way to do it. It's the easier way to do it, because you can compel somebody by having it written in a law book or a set of bylaws. The harder way to do it, but the best way to do it, to build relationships, is to develop the kind of open communications and talk to somebody and say, hey, listen, this is the concern I have. I can tell you, and I don't want to get into any details, I don't think we've talked to people. You know, if it is a concern, I don't think people have talked, and hearts don't change by people invoking laws, because you might not know why somebody decided to do something. And so I don't even think, this is just for me, I don't even think I don't feel like we've passed the test to invoke this law. While it's available, I don't think people have talked to people about their concerns. I think people have concerns. No, wait, Commissioner LeBron, I have the floor. Let me finish. So that's just my observation. I think culture changes when relationships change. And that is invariably the tougher thing to do, but that's why I'm not comfortable with this. I agree that people should attend meetings, but I know I have missed meetings, and I know other people have purposefully missed meetings in this very body. So I would be concerned that it's a substitute for the hard work that you have to do. And when I talk about hard work, and each of you know what I'm talking about, it's calling somebody up and saying, hey, this is my feeling. And by the way, it's also calling somebody back and saying, no, this is the way I feel. So as you would say, Commissioner LeBron, I'm a no for this, but that's okay. That's just how I feel about it. I think we can do this by building relationships and just talking to people. Commissioner LeBron?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I hear you, but I also have to look at this, that this is not a team where we're just hanging out and trying to create a non-for-profit. There should be a standard, and that standard has not been there. So I hear what you're saying, but if we're gonna move and shift the culture, there should be a standard and a level of understanding, and we do that through our bylaws because we're a governmental agency, to state what the standard is for all the commissioners. So that's one. Two, we had this discussion. I don't recall you saying you weren't going to support it when it came forth tonight. So I thought we were already in some agreement. I thought it was you were going to be supporting this. But again, as the leader of this board, you're hearing from right now 3 commissioners on the screen actually agreeing to this, which it's very rare for us 3 to agree on something, and commissioners that are there tonight also agree, which we don't always agree. And you're still choosing, of course, it's your right to support what you want to support, but at some point there has to be a standard. And I've talked about this before, sitting on this board. I feel like oftentimes our procedures and our standards are very loosey-goosey, and they flip-flop too much for me. And it's not so that we are demanding law, but there has to be some order in all of this, and it has to make sense. And it can't be that somebody comes into a meeting one day and we have one set of rules, and they come into a meeting the next day and there's a whole completely different set of rules. So I think we need to figure out what the standard's gonna be and all agree to a standard. And it may make some people feel uncomfortable. That's part of culture shifting and changing too. So I think in this regard, it's not just a relationship piece. I think this is a standard for the Board of Education and for this community to understand the standard that we're setting.
Yeah, and I'd like to add as well that I completely agree. You know, bylaws do set standards, and we do need to set a professional standard. And it's, you know, an occasional absence is not an issue. That's not an issue. This is a pretty low bar that we're setting, actually. It's only becomes an issue if people are missing meeting after meeting after meeting, and that should be called on. That we should have a standard that that's not acceptable. And it's appropriate to put in our bylaws. And if we don't do that, we are saying to the public, we have very low standards. So I think absolutely we should be doing this. And it's embarrassing that we don't, that we have such low standards.
So yes, Commissioner Shepard?
So I know we've talked about this, I feel like at length over a bunch of meetings. And so for me, it's just a little bit alarming for you to say that invoking state law is more about relationships. And I feel like that's a lot of the problem in our district right now, is that people feel like laws are optional and it's not. So even if this passes or doesn't pass it, if it doesn't, I actually don't I actually want us to revisit looking at even making our committee meetings committees of the whole. Because if I'm going to be held to something or other commissioners aren't going to be able to, I want to have that same exact freedom. So if this doesn't pass tonight in regards to our bylaws, I do want to ask that we change our committee structure and take them out from being committees of the whole. And then the community can just take a look at the attendance and the people that they voted in. If they're not there to represent them, then that's on that individual commissioner and their relationship with the community.
Okay, so.
Let me say, I'd like to add something. I know, Van, you're talking about how important it is for us to begin with relationships, but this board has historically not been able to do that. And we've tried with retreats, and we're still working on it. But it's not working with that as the starter point, even though I would like it to be. And oftentimes when that's an issue, the structures that we function within serve as a way to move people closer to the way we'd like to see behavior. So putting standards in our bylaws that help the structure, that pull us together as a team, is a very legitimate way to improve the way we're functioning as a team.
Okay, so let me respond as best I can to some of this stuff. I do believe in standards, and in fact, I wholly support paragraphs 4A and B, and if you go down and you include 3 consecutive meetings, I don't have any problem including that. It's what will happen next is what I object to. So let me be clear. A number of people said, wait a second, you don't have standards? I absolutely do. The first few paragraphs that I said I would leave in, those are very clear standards, and I would include 3 consecutive meetings. It's the mechanics of what, bless you, you all are saying, or what would be required to happen next that I have a concern about. I also want to tell you in the 12 years that I've also, and I'm not just talking about this board, I've also seen how the media uses that to take good, hardworking board members. I've seen this, and a couple of you guys have been around for a while. You knew what the media did when a person missed, because at one time Malik made all meetings special meetings, and everybody had to be there. And when certain people didn't show up, you didn't know if it was maternity leave or something. The media started talking about our board members who were really hardworking. So yes, mine is not a question of standards. I said, I agree that most of this stuff could come in here. It's including, I would include 3 consecutive meetings, because that's what the law says. That's what the focus should be. I agree with standards. And to people who say, we've tried at retreats, I can tell you what's ironic about that. Even at retreats, people, and you all know this, there are people who didn't show up at retreats. Now, that wasn't consecutive, and for some folks, it was, but let me tell you something. Yeah, you can miss 3 meetings, and it can really hurt the body, but you can miss 1 retreat, and you all know this, because you've been there. You can miss 1 retreat and really jack up the ability of a group to come together. You cannot return 1 phone call, or you can make a statement to the media, and you can mess up the momentum. So where are the standards for that? So my point is, all that stuff that doesn't manifest itself in a law or statute or even in bylaws, and I am down with putting some standards in our bylaws. When somebody says to me, we've tried, I can give you instances in meetings where we haven't, retreats where we haven't, and you all have participated and you know it has messed up the retreat. And it's not just one person that's happened to. But I do think that it is about relationships. And if we think that we can build the kind of relationships, and I know nobody's saying this, I know it's not that simple, by just changing these bylaws, we're sorely mistaken. And so, again, again, Beatrice has said, and because the motion might be called the question, that's just where I'm at. And by the way, I think you all have the votes for this. I can count.
I would say it's not, I would just remind you, it's not, I don't see this as an either or. I would agree, we should be working on relationships. It's a yes and. It's standards, it's structures, it's at high expectations. It's always moving toward our highest vision rather than running away from fear of media or whatever, or giving up because of past experiences. But we should be doing both. You know, put the highest expectations in our bylaws change the structures to support and urge us all towards better teamwork and work on our relationships. We do it all.
I worry, though, Liz, Commissioner Hallmark, that, and I've given specific examples, and you all around, that sometimes the law or bylaws are used as a billy club. And not just by board members, it could happen to board members, but the media does it. And I'm saying there are lots of ways in which we have not tried. And it's, disingenuous is strong of a word, it's disingenuous for us to think that this is the answer, because I'm telling you, you can miss 3 consecutive meetings and really mess up the chemistry of a board, but you can also miss one retreat. And we have multiple board members who've missed important retreats, not just one, there's 2, 3, and it can mess up. So when I talk about culture, or again, I'm being very specific about this, when you do something, and let's be honest, you have people issuing press releases, and multiple people on this board have done this, and it has had more of an effect on this board than any one board member missing 2 or 3 meetings. It's had permanent effect. So as, again, Commissioner Branes says, and it's a good way to say it, let's call the question. This is just where I'm at. I've just seen too much to think that this is going to be the answer.
But you're still talking.
Well, okay, all right, because I thought that's what we did.
I just want to add though, like, I think for me, some of the things you're saying, you're mixing a standard versus the board dynamics and relationships, and those we're not going to be able to policy and law our way out of. I think that's going to take some real hard work in relationship dynamics. But again, for me, the bylaws are setting the standard the same way we are requesting that we read the rules, that we have the rules available for the public when they come to board meetings. There has to be a standard. And in terms of the media comment, in terms of the media pouncing on commissioners' attendance, and I actually remember this article from a few years ago. As a parent in the district, I felt that it was the media's job to bring forth light, elected officials, time on the job. We have elected officials in Rochester, not just on the school board, that don't go to work and should not be reelected. And people every day living their lives are not paying attention to those things. It's not something that's critical for them to observe and watch. But when the media puts it all together and you're able to see that you have elected someone who is not showing up to do the job, and you can see the results based on what's happening in your community, that's a problem, and that should be called out. So for me, I feel like that is the media.
Yeah, and I would.
Oh, go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, and I would add, and I would add that, you know, we're being paid stipends. The media should be calling attention to our attendance. We should have highest standards, and we should put it in the structures of our bylaws, and we should be aiming for our highest standards. And I think it's not right to call it disingenuous to approach it this way. I think it's a yes and we work on relationships and our structures. I actually think it's cowardly not to do this.
Well, Commissioner Shepard, you asked me why we were continuing to talk about it when we technically were calling the question, because people had said something and I was responding to it. But I'm done. I think, you know, we've all said our piece. I could respond to what was just said, but we're done. You know,
I don't think that we all did say our piece. I mean, you're saying that you're saying that people miss important retreats. So I'm somebody that has missed probably 2 retreats, and I missed them because there's board members that will go into those retreats and lie and not own up to the things that they've been doing, so they're not worth it. So I wanted to make that very clear for the public. And 2, this whole attendance thing came about because we all had a very lengthy discussion about putting these meetings as committees of the whole, which by law, we all have to be there. And if every single board member is not gonna be there for a committee of the whole, that's how this whole attendance conversation came about. I'm okay if people don't wanna come to the meetings, that's their choice. But I don't wanna have to be stuck coming to every meeting when I can also pick and choose and read minutes and then still be caught up on the things that we're doing. So if people don't think that we should have an attendance policy in our attendance reg in our bylaws that goes along with committees of the whole, then we should not have committees of the whole. because when you see that on the website, our community is expecting every single board member to be there. That's what I'm saying. So please don't misconstrue what's happening here. If you don't agree with attendance, or multiple people don't agree with having an attendance reg, then let's take these meetings out of committees of the whole, period.
Well, again, what I tried to point out was that I think there is support. Commissioner Shepard? I think there is support for this. I mean, I can listen to people's comments and I hear where people are at. So why don't we go ahead and vote? I think people have been very straightforward. I apologize for using the word disingenuous. I even said, I don't even know if that's the right word. It's probably too strong of a word. I apologize, Commissioner Hallmark. You seem to pick up on that. And that was, as I indicated, perhaps too strong of a word. But I am concerned, and I provided the explanations already about this. I'm not opposed to
I would like to say further that I was under the impression that we were appreciating the good work that was happening in meetings as a whole, that we're noticing that we're having deeper conversations, that we are getting somewhere actually in our teamwork, which makes the retreats less necessary because we are spending more time together, and that there's a general sense that these are working in a positive way. So to not support that in our bylaws just doesn't make any sense to me.
And Commissioner Hallmark, you're proving my point. You're right. Things have been improving because of the committee structure. We didn't have that committee structure before. I think there have been some people who have missed retreats. Commissioner Shepard indicated she missed a few. I think there are other board members, put plural on that have missed a few. But you proved my point. I think by relationship building, and you were one of the ones that said we ought to change the meeting structure. You've been saying that for a while, right? I think that...
I've been saying that for 4 years.
Well, I said a while, but you're probably right. It was 4 years. But it's that recommendation that I believe is changing the culture. Because what do we say when we get those meetings? We're saying we're talking more, we're not staying as long. That's relationship building. I fear, and again, it's just my concern, I fear that when you do stuff by compulsion, I'm not saying don't have standards. I'm opposed to the compulsory language in this. When you, not the standards, when you do that, you interfere with the relationship building because people become naturally suspicious. But you're right. Things have gotten better. I don't think there's probably a single board member who would disagree with that. You and I have talked about that after our meetings. So why don't we let that continue to happen? But let's vote. We've all, again, I apologize for using the word disingenuous. I don't think anybody's being underhanded or anything. I even said, I thought that was too strong of a word. So I take that back if I can. So let's, not that I'm trying to cut off a conversation. If anybody wants to say anything more, please feel free, Commissioner Davis.
No, I just wanted to make it clear that it's not about a personal problem that, like I'm not attending meetings or something. I'm really thinking of the future, and I realize how political our environment is, and I'm scared of how this can be used politically, depending on the composition of the board in years for the future. So I would like the compulsory language removed. Again, this is to protect future board compositions where it may be contentious and persons can use this in a particular way. So that's the only problem that I have with it. I've enjoyed the committees of the whole, and I also want standards. The only contention I have is the compulsory language because of the political nature of how it can be used.
Any other comments, Commissioner Powell?
Well, only this, that in reaction to, I think, the shared concerns of all three of those that I think are going to be voting no, is that should the day come when we really did need to remove somebody, if we didn't have the language, then the commissioner would immediately kick it back and say, you didn't set the expectation. So the biggest argument for the compulsory language isn't because of the high likelihood of it being used. It's very unlikely that anyone would actually suffer consequences because of this. But if we did not have the language, then we wouldn't be able to enforce anything. So.
I think that Carl just said the opposite. He said if the language wasn't there, that it's still the law. the compulsory part. You said it's still in the law.
Carl, you want to respond to that?
In terms of attendance taking?
Well, the word consecutive is the piece there.
The standard is in the law. It is discretionary with respect to the board. If the board doesn't want to have a policy with respect to this and does not, essentially take attendance and declare whether people are excused or not excused under the case laws, we discussed it during the committee. The commissioner will take that as tacit approval. And the board would not be able to act even in a case where it thought it was justified.
I meant just the part where we're talking about the repercussions once these 3 consecutives have happened. The education law quoted here would still come into play whether it's in the policy or not, wouldn't it?
Yes, I understand, but if you don't set the rule firmly, the commissioner will do what Commissioner Powell suggested. And even though you bring a case, if you have tacitly approved and not consistently enforced the rule pursuant to a policy, your chances of succeeding, even in a case where it is justified, are practically nil.
Carl,
I just want to add,
yes,
Van,
Commissioner LeBron.
If people are doing what they're supposed to be doing as commissioners with attendance and communicating when they're not going to be able to attend for a personal health, whatever reason, work-related, this isn't an issue. So I just don't understand why we spend so much time, one, having lots of conversations in the Tuesday meetings and committees of the whole around this, and that we're dragging this out tonight, too.
Again, I think we've discussed this. Part of the problem is what is a legitimate excuse, what is not. If you remember back to that time, I think you said you remember that situation. People didn't know, the media didn't know, and the board members didn't know what people's excuses were, and then what excuse is legitimate and what is not. I'm concerned about that as well. Let me just say, and I think Commissioner Davis, people talk about, well, you've all got this agreement and we don't normally agree. Well, some other stuff is happening, and I can appreciate that too. I don't always agree with Commissioner Davis. This is very rare. But part of my disagreement is tied up with my experience. And Liz, thank you for reminding me. And there's not a person who's been to these meetings who's going to disagree with me on this. Even that Terry, who is new, probably could sense it. We are operating better, even as these bylaws are being developed. They haven't even been offered. Our retreats have been moderately, if that, successful. What I believe has resulted in our improved performance, and it's certainly not perfect, is the committee structure. And it's not, as Liz said, it's not either or proposition. You can have standards, and I'm not opposed to those standards. I think Commissioner Davis says she's not opposed to those standards. I'm not opposed to having them in the bylaws. It's the compulsory side that's concerned of me. But, again.
But again, if people are doing what they're supposed to do as a commissioner and as an elected official, and I don't care what elected official it is, it doesn't even need to be the Board of Education. There should be a standard for every single elected official to attend the job and do the work. And I hear what you guys are saying, like the law requires or allows it, but what Carl is saying, if there's no standard for us to even take accountability into play, whether the absence was excused or not excused, then the commissioner is taking that as that we've set no standards for it. Therefore, we can't even go to her or him and make the argument that we have a commissioner who's not fulfilling their job duties because we have no evidence and proof to show that we have set a standard and they're not even meeting that standard. We're not saying we're going to be voting for people who have a legitimate excuse not to attend a meeting and that we're going to be saying they're not excused in all of the minutes. But at least it shows that we have a process that we know that it was communicated and it's documented. That's all. But again, that's just me. I just think it goes back to a standard. And every elected official should have a standard of attending their job that they're elected to do the work.
Vice President.
Yeah, I think that, and then this is all I'm going to say. I think that this, we are all elected officials, and it is up to the voters whether or not they want to vote us in or not. I think that getting caught up into this kind of conversation where someone else wants to make sure everybody is there, and that's not anybody's role. The role is we were elected by the people, and if we're here or not, it shouldn't be any other person's concern per se. If we contact the president to say that we're not going to be here, and I guess there has to be an excuse to it, that should be sufficient. And it should not be trying to control the whereabouts. All you need is 4 votes. So if 3 people don't show up, doesn't matter. You need 4 votes. You don't need 7. That's what we have to look at. I'm done, Mr. President.
So I actually, if that's the feeling and the whole board doesn't want to have committee of the whole meetings, like we had already agreed in our first conversation, I would like us to take that as a stipulation off of our meetings. It's that simple.
I didn't catch the last part of what you said, Commissioner Shepard.
I would like to take the committee of the whole stipulation off of all of our meetings. If all 7 board members don't believe that we should have a committee of the whole, then we shouldn't have a committee of the whole. That's just where I'm at. So I would like to do that.
Well, you know, and that might be something we would discuss, but right now, we have these bylaws that you and Carl and other board members discussed. It is before this body for us to decide today, and what you may be proposing may be something that the board will want to consider. I personally would not support that. I think there are reasons why already, excuse me? I think there are reasons already that have been stated by others, including myself, which reflect why these committee meetings have been helpful. And again, I'm shocked if anybody would say otherwise, but that's just my feeling. Call the question. So all those in favor of the bylaw changes as represented in the pink copy of 2300, say aye. Let's do a roll call vote. Commissioner Powell?
Well, I'm waiting till I can see Natalie in the frame again, because I know I can pretty much tell what the vote's going to be, so I want to make sure all 7 of us can cast our vote.
Well, if she comes back, we can do a motion to reconsider.
If you could come back to me.
Okay, Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a no.
No.
Vice President Elliott? Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, the vote is 3-3. Is that right, Madam Clerk? My number's
Well,
rather
I
than.
haven't cast my vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I presumed too much. I'm sorry.
For the benefit of being able to preserve the right to reconsider, I'm going to vote. I'm waiting for Natalie to come back into the frame.
But remember now, she would be able to make that motion.
I know that. I'm going to vote no in order to preserve the right to bring this back for reconsideration.
Okay. So if you vote.
It's already going to fail if Natalie doesn't come back.
Okay. So we still have some other business to take care of, and in fact, we have to go into executive session. So Commissioner Shepard, I'm not sure why she's not there, but she will. We're going to be consistent. Although she opposed the motion to reconsider earlier on, we were going to be consistent, and if she comes back, yes.
I just want to state for the record, because we had extensive conversations in committees of the whole around this, and for it to not pass tonight is extremely disappointing.
I get it.
And it goes back to this board wanting to continue to operate with low expectations and standards of itself. And it's so disappointing. I'm actually very disgusted that this did not pass. It's just ridiculous to me.
Okay, all right.
Well, Commissioner LeBron, understand if
Willa, I don't want to hear it. You can say whatever you need to.
If Commissioner Shepard
No, I don't want to hear it, so I'm logging off. Bye.
Oh, for Christ's sake. I want this to pass. I also want, but it has to have Natalie Shepard on the call in order for it to pass. You and I are on the same side here.
All right, Commissioner Powell, again, as I was saying, we have a rule. We got our parliamentarian told us that a person, I assume that was our, no, maybe it wasn't.
That was her signing off.
The vote? It was a no. It was a no. But I think Commissioner Powell was making the point, either way it was going to fail.
It was a strategic no.
But because earlier today, we allowed a person who wasn't there, and at that time it was Commissioner Hallmark, to make the motion to reconsider. If Commissioner Shepard does reappear, and it looks like if, oh there she is.
Now we got to get Commissioner LeBron back, unless the voting hasn't closed.
There we go.
I actually don't want to talk about this anymore. If whoever voted no wants to bring it up in the future, after y'all do some reflection,
let her
then
finish,
do it.
let her
I don't
finish.
want to talk about it.
I can't.
Y'all already voted. I wasn't here when y'all voted. Let's move on.
Hold on. What did you say, Commissioner Shepard? I missed what you just said.
I said that I do not want to talk about this anymore tonight. If whoever voted no wants to bring it up in the future, let's do that. But I don't want to discuss it. I wasn't around when we voted, and I'm ready to move.
I'd like, since we haven't actually moved on to the next topic, I'd like to change my vote to yes. Now that,
Okay, so first we have to make a motion to reconsider.
well, I don't know that we do because we haven't actually moved on to the next topic.
No, we voted. But
All right.
listen.
Motion to reconsider.
Wait. People Commissioner Powell, even though the young folks are gone, let's continue to model the behavior we want. Let's all just relax for a minute. Let's do what we got to do. You want to make a motion to reconsider?
So I will say, because Natalie is back on the phone, okay. Commissioner Shepard, I voted no for the express purpose of being able to bring it back to the table when you were back online. So I am now making a motion to reconsider.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Commissioner Hallmark seconded it. All those in favor of the motion?
That was Commissioner LeBron, actually.
No, I thought it was Commissioner Hallmark. Was it Commissioner Hallmark that seconded it? Yes, it was Commissioner Hallmark. All right, let's just relax here. So all we're doing right now is voting on the motion to reconsider. All those in favor of the motion to reconsider, say aye. Now I'm going to say aye because I believe people should have an opportunity to vote if they want to.
Aye.
Aye. You're aye. Commissioner Powell's aye. You're a yes. Commissioner Davis is a yes. I'm a yes.
No.
Vice President Elliott is a no. Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Shepard?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
All right. So this motion to amend policy number 2300 is now before the board. I assume there doesn't need to be any further discussion about it. All those in favor of amending policy number 2300 as provided by Carl and Commissioner Shepard and others, say aye. I will take a roll call vote. Commissioner Powell?
Aye.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
I'm a no. Vice President Elliott?
No.
Is a no. Commissioner Shepard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hallmark?
Yes.
And Commissioner LeBron?
Yes.
The ayes have it. So the amendments have been made. I need a motion to go into executive session, but before I get that motion, there's just one matter, maybe two. I think it's at least one, right, Carl? Yes. Oh, that's right. We had Commissioner Shepard had resolution 261, I think it was.
Yeah.
Is that what it was, Commissioner Shepard?
Yeah.
Yeah, 261. So before we make that motion, I probably should have done this more frequently and regularly, but many of you know Tim Macaluso works for the city newspaper for many, many years. And no. Oh, I'm sorry. I started like that. No, he did. He's fine, but he is retired. And I thought, and I probably should do this, we all should probably do this more often, but he is a member of this community, and sometimes you don't like what he wrote, but he always tried to be fair. Sometimes they didn't give you the nomination, sometimes they didn't, but he really worked hard at his art of writing, and I did want to congratulate him. His last day was today, and I wanted to note that for the record. I think our local media is losing somebody who really knew education well. So congratulations, Tim, and I'm sure many of my colleagues appreciate your work. All right, so can I, yes, Commissioner Shepard?
Yeah, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege.
Sure.
And this is just to bring up the fact that I'm trying to use the right choice of words here.
So I'm a little bit frustrated in regards to one of the questions that I had asked the administration in regards to security around one of our schools, which really stemmed from me asking a question from one school last year about security on doors, and that led to us talking about security at every facility. And I asked the question about when we would get alarms for doors at this particular school, and the answer that came back was 2021. And that really has me frustrated because we are in 2019 right now. And I'm talking about security of a building and things that are within the building, and the administration told the door. So I'm gonna request now, sorry, can you guys still hear me? Because this,
Yeah, we can still got you.
connect. So I'm gonna ask now that we look again at securing all the doors with alarms on all of our schools, specifically for the school that I asked, because they have things there that are very valuable.
Superintendent Day, you got that? All right. So you could tell that Commissioner Shepard rightly wants an answer like ASAP, so we'll get that to her. Could you put that on the question log too? Thank you. Commissioner LeBron, did I hear you say something?
Yeah, I want to take a point of personal privilege too.
Sure.
One, I want to thank Tim Macaluso for all of his work in city newspaper. I actually feel very sad that he's retiring, and I feel like we're gonna miss out on a media personality that was just, it's gonna be extremely difficult to replace. I do think he was always fair in education and fair in a lot of his work. I want to wish him the best. I want him to stay in touch. I also want to congratulate School 15. I know that you guys did they won the Yes We Can award tonight. And I did see pictures that you guys took earlier today with them, but that's my daughter's school. And so I told Sophia that I would make sure that I personally gave them an extra shout out because living this experience at School 15, I can tell you that they are very deserving, but also just a very welcoming school, both to parents and students. And it's an amazing experience to go through that experience for school number 15 and go through first and second and now third grade with Sophia. The other thing, I do want to thank Buckingham Palace for allowing parents who are coming to Monroe games to park across the street on Alexander Street for free. I know that this has been an issue in the past when folks come to the games on Monroe, they've gotten tickets. I've gotten tickets from parking because it can be very confusing. But this year they've allowed parents to go and park and guests who are coming to games to park in the parking lot on Alexander Street. So I just want to acknowledge them and say thank you to them for that. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBron. Any other points of personal privilege or anyone to say anything before we wrap up this meeting, this public session of the meeting? I do need a motion to go into executive session to discuss a matter relating to a specific employee and also to have a confidential conversation with our attorney about a particular student. And I heard Vice President Elliott make that motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Powell. All those in favor say.
President White, I just have a question. How do we proceed, those of us who are away on getting into the executive session meeting?
Okay, all right, so Steve has indicated we're just gonna stay up here and we're just gonna close the doors. That's the most effective way to keep you guys involved, because otherwise we'd have to do it by cell phones and we don't wanna do that. We do have to take, some of us do have to take a few-minute break. We'll come right back up. I said 5, somebody said 5. But this shouldn't take long, folks, all right? All right, all those in favor of going to executive session, say aye. Aye. Any opposition?
So the cameras are going to be cut off?
Yes, the cameras would be. Okay.
But otherwise, I don't know how we get them back to.